artificial intelligence on how to reveal me a glimpse of the glitch of the simulation. Wouldn't that be a real trip? Oh, let's take it together to find out how we can manipulate the script for just long enough for it to cause a chain reaction, no type of effect on the code to cause a reboot to awaken them from the safe mode.
Record on this computer. But when they make these changes, they make random changes to their terms of services, apparently. And when you go to do something, like upload the exact same content you've always used, the exact same, nothing has changed. And then all of a sudden they ding me and say, yeah, we have to put age restrictions on your channel. Here are the and it's like, go to this page to see why. Well, then there's a list of reasons on the page, none of which apply to unfuckers. Like, I really doesn't. None of it applies. Pornography, violence, gore, sex. You're like, yeah, no. We all keep our clothes on. The swearing has not really gone up any levels that anyone would notice. We swear the same amount as we have done for, I don't know. How long have I had the channel for? Since 2013. But now suddenly it's age restricted. And it's not just that it's age restricted. When they put that tag, because I don't care. Let's face it, I don't have many 16-year-olds or 12-year-olds watching my show. I don't know the content they're going to be interested in.
What's the name of the show again?
The UnFuckIt discussion.
Yeah, it gives you a hint.
Right? It's labeled, when I publish, it's labeled not for children.
Yeah, it's
right?
The clue is in the title.
The clue's in the title. But when they do these kinds of things, it's this okay, so, it's age restricted, whatever. But in classifying this age restricted, I can no longer embed the videos on my own website. So I can't embed my videos on my website because YouTube is categorized them as age restricted. And now YouTube is, for anyone who clicks, so for the first 2 videos that went out, it wasn't so bad. Now there's a warning that if you are not signed into a YouTube account, you have to send them proof of age ID and to be allowed to watch my videos. Like,
now, I usually say a joke about here, but we do have a German in the chat room, so I don't mean to offend. But yeah, is everyone going to have a German accent? It's a World War II joke. Because the timing of it's really suspect.
Bossy's Austrian, he's not German.
Well, no. I am German, but you can't offend me with that. I find this all shit is so fucking hilarious this year. I mean, come on.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, we've made the point where, the Germans are protesting against lockdown. You people would know.
Yeah, I know.
We've seen this before. Stop this. You bad person.
But seriously, since...
Danny, does it even surprise you, though?
No,
sorry,
go on.
No, we were talking about cognitive dissonance last week and stuff, and I mean, when COVID started, everything was changing so quickly. Right now, everything's changing by the hour. So does it surprise you, Danny, with YouTube? I don't think it's over yet. So go ahead, Bossy. Sorry, honey.
No, I was just trying to outline from now on, I only interpret everything I hear from the politician side as in a voice like something like an English lord that's about to say, like, guards, those peasants have come here, send them away. With all that capital thing.
Thou
exactly.
shalt not go forward into the public. And if you're in Victoria,
I love the joke
have got the full Nazi regime going on. Papers, please. You can't now. I just heard this from a friend of mine in Victoria this morning.
We might need some of the old a royalty of Germany for that. Like those old ones that joined later, the Nazis, with all the
Archduke and shit like
titles
that.
and shit like that. Yeah, exactly.
Just reminds me of that joke from History of the World Part 1, Mel Brooks. The peasants are revolting. You're telling me.
Yeah.
What your friend from Victoria said? I'm
She said,
fascinated.
Victoria, Australia, you now have to show papers to be allowed to travel.
Yeah,
out
between
of your area.
states.
Like, I'm like, how? Like, and so she posted a picture of like a woman being stopped. She's got a grocery bag on her arm and having to show a paper to two cops right next to a picture of like wartime Germany with the Gestapo stopping a woman who has to show her papers to be able to travel. She was like, all you need to know, Australia, Nazi Germany.
Yeah, I actually shared a meme in the last 12 hours where it says, remember, kids, to wind your back to 1942. And it's got the same photos.
Exactly.
England, in England, someone, they'll feed. So people have been arrested for feeding birds. There was a guy that was arrested for hugging.
One woman was arrested for sitting on a bench and having a coffee. God damn her, breaking the rules like that. How could she? Another one was two women walking in an empty space. There were like 2 meters apart, so they were even observing social distancing. They were out walking and they got arrested for walking in public. Welcome to the UK, the Nazi state. I mean, literally, the world has lost its mind. And even, like I said, even my Muggle friends are posting some of these articles in England and going, what now? What?
Mm-hmm.
Woman sitting on a bench by herself. There's no one within 50 meters of her having a coffee, and they arrested her.
And we've only been talking about it for a decade, and of course we're the insane ones.
Yeah, we're the crazy ones.
Yeah, because we did research and we have forethought and pattern recognition, and everyone's freaking out. Like there was people cheering on that Donald Trump got deplatformed on Spotify in Pinterest because there's a lot of engagement
YouTube
there,
and Twitter and Facebook and Parler, or however you fucking say that one. That one's been
Parler's down at the moment because
completely taken down.
But how is Donald Trump going to incite violence by listening to Eye of the Tiger?
Really?
Like, that's how, unless he produces something.
That's how he evolves. That's how I evolve.
He's got an ad revenue. His party has an ad revenue spend on Facebook of $14 million. I looked it up because you can look up anybody's ads and how much they spent and what they write in their ads. So I looked it up. So do you think Facebook is really going to ban him when his party alone brings them $14 million in ad revenue?
And they did, though. They did. Him and a whole bunch of them. Like, a whole bunch of them have all been kicked off. And I'm just sitting there going, but this is the showing of the act of desperation now. Like,
yeah, they have deep pockets that probably just cover it. They'll say, well, ban them. Here's $15 million.
Exactly. The Democrats, someone.
Danny, you're off mic again.
Oh, fuck, sorry. I forgot to pull my mic down. My mic is being a retard today. I don't know what's going on with it.
There seems to be a lot of money coming in because from what I can tell, not just that, but like Chinese people, whatever, they're coming in here. Let's say a home is worth $250,000. They're going, oh, we'll give you $4 for it. And so they're coming in and buying up all this real estate.
But that's not new. That's been going on for 10 years. Like, that's been going on for 10 years. You talk about Canada and British Columbia and Vancouver, when when Hong Kong changed hands, the price of property in Vancouver skyrocketed overnight because all the people from Hong Kong were coming over to Vancouver going, we'll buy anything. We'll buy any, and they were paying. And it's still going on, right? I mean, I know people in Malta who, same thing, have sold properties to very, very wealthy Chinese people, because Malta offers a passport, right? If you can buy a piece of property worth X amount of money or more and can give $600,000, you all get a passport from Malta. And then they're automatically EU citizens, right? So a lot of people.
Same here in Australia. They're buying up.
It's the same anywhere. You can buy an American passport if you have enough money. And they just don't advertise it, right? Same with Canada.
Like we had the fires 12 months ago, and a part of it was that we've got like our river system, the Murray-Darling River system, which goes from Queensland all the way through. It's actually the Murray River is a border of Victoria and comes out in South Australia. So it's, you know, basically
Big
from
ass.
top. Yeah, it's like Mississippi. I think not. However, the water rights have been bought up by Chinese companies, and they've dammed it all, so all the water has stopped flowing, and you can see puddles where a river was, and tens of thousands of fish are dying because there's no water.
There's no words.
You think that's their way of like forcing us into like the apartment complexes and the city centers, because nobody can afford property anymore, and if you do decide to stay, the property tax will probably get so high that it's more than your
and in
your
places
mortgage.
like Queensland, where they're just cutting off water supplies, so farmers are going bankrupt and are having to move because that was last year, 2 years ago, I guess now. You know, farmers all of a sudden the drought was so severe that their animals were dying, their crops had all died, et cetera, et cetera. But if then you find out the Chinese are
Hoarding
the water and damming up, well, who's to blame? I'm sorry. Here's the thing. Everyone wants to blame the Chinese. Someone in those local governments let the Chinese go do this. Some rich Chinese businessman comes in and says, I'm going to buy all your water. And someone in Australia government went, okay.
Yeah,
Same in Canada. Same in same in all these places when this is happening. The local governments are letting it happen. It could be the Chinese. It could be fucking the Koreans. It could be the Brazilians. The country that's doing it at this point doesn't even fucking matter, to the point of, and yes, I get it. You guys don't have to go freaking out on me in comments about fucking the Chinese government. We all get it. It's the fact that the local governments are allowing it. That's the issue at hand. We can't control what fucking China does. We have no control over it. But, hello, fucking local governments.
And it's all economic. It's the suburb that I grew up in is like, we've had Chinese people living here since 1885, and they're especially in the last 2 decades. They've changed because, like, you know, Canada, United States, immigrant country, we all used to get along. Yep. And now the suburb I have is turning into a mini Hong Kong, where we used to not have buildings over 4 stories out in the suburbs. Now we're getting up to 64 floors, where it's completely flat except for this. Well, actually, there's 2, so it looks like 2. You can see it from, and that faces Doncaster. It's like, where my dad is, that he figured out. I'm not sure if it is, but there's it's called Sky One. It's a kilometre away. He figured out the shadow of that building will probably hit his house, and it just ruins the whole aesthetic. Where it's like Manhattan has been transported to New Jersey. Just all these huge skyscrapers, and Melbourne over the last 20 years is just full of buildings, and most likely half of them are empty. But it's the government's thing of like, oh, this is good for the economy, and we'll have building, and we create, and then it's the Chinese are the ones at the moment, but the governments are allowing it to happen.
Exactly.
Like our premier has signed on to the Belt and Road Initiative, We're nowhere near anywhere in Asia. Like, why are we? Like, how are we going to benefit from London to Beijing? I don't understand that. It's a bit of a walk.
It's kind of the same concept if we all think back about them building all the ghost cities and all the bullshit. You know, we're all kind of okay.
This is one of the biggest things for money laundering is construction. Right? If you've got money that you need to launder,
brilliant. Thank you. You're welcome. Leanne's
you do construction, right?
Yum, yum.
Like you because you can put all this money into buildings, etc. And that's what they talk about. They say, like, you know, I mean, and Clive will agree with me on this one. Malta is like, they keep putting up fucking high-rise buildings. They keep putting up all these guest houses. They keep building up more flats, blocks of flats, ugly fucking blocks of flats. And like the town that I lived in Gozo, Marsalforn, 75% of the flats were empty. Yet they still gave more building permits for people to build more, but they were empty. And none of them were finished. Like you had, I'm going to say probably 1/3 of all of the residential area of Marsalforn was incomplete blocks of flats.
Well, they up to code as well, because that's been a problem here in Australia where
money talks.
Why does this building look small? Why does this apartment look smaller? Because it is. It's like, okay. And you also have the problem, you know, $1,000 for a hammer. Like, really?
Yeah, exactly. Gold-plated screws.
When I first came to Malta, they would only allow 2 stories. Now they can go up to 5. And as Danny is saying, and where I live, we've got 9 huge cranes permanently on the horizon. They're all working, building up flats.
Yeah.
2 stories to 5 stories. So that's it.
I think also here in Australia, the dream was to have a 1/4 acre block. I'm not sure. I hate the measurement system. It's probably very. I mean, I'm a standard with American. We've got a small house. You could play squash in the hallway. In Canada, it's probably the same as well, where you want space enough. But now they want to go with the Asian model, where it's shoe boxes and pods and just stack everyone together.
Okay, so I want to put something out there, and I want to go on a little bit of a diatribe in a minute, but I want to put something out there. I'm part of several groups on social media about small houses, right? There's this huge push for, let's make these little tiny houses. And on the surface, it all sounds wonderful. On the surface, it sounds like a grand idea. But is this that exact what Monty's just saying? Is this that push? Is this that push that we're going to make it so that all these people are going to want to have little tiny houses that may all start off at first as being like, oh, this is a grand idea. We've got this little smart, tiny plot of land, and look at, we have this one little, or is that part of the agenda? Is that part of the agenda to get people to give up their big houses and build these little tiny houses? And the idea being, okay, it's more economical. If you're a retired couple, you don't need all that space. You're going to want to downsize. But yes, Jimmy, the normalization of small homes, the normalization of let's get down smaller and smaller and smaller. And when those start becoming available, all of a sudden you will see things that won't just be retired grandma and grandpa who've sold off their 3-bedroom bungalow and built a little small home for themselves on a little property. No, you'll end up seeing families with 3 kids living in those small homes because it's the only thing that they can afford. And we already see that already. We're already seeing that already, where people are living wherever they can afford to get housing. But all of a sudden, if you have an availability, let's say bylaws start getting passed that allow them to put in, like whole trailer courts. And you guys will remember this from the 60s with mobile homes, and they would build entire trailer courts of all these things. Well, now the next step down is it's not even going to be a 16 by 30-foot mobile home or static caravan. Now it's going to be a 8 by 15-foot long storage container that's had some doors and windows cut into it. It's kind of like I can see the pluses. I totally see the pluses, but at the same time, this could be very, very much used as a control structure to move into another whole level of this cramming people together.
And you lose the front yard and the backyard, and you can't have a garden.
Yep, and then you can't have a garden, and you can't be self-sufficient if you're in a small home that's got 5 foot of space all the way around it because they've stacked all these people together. I don't know.
That's what it is. You can't have chickens in a garden. That's what it is.
You can't have chickens. You can't grow your own food. You can't do anything. I mean, laws are already in place. We've seen the laws that have come into power, especially in the States. Like you can't collect your own fucking rainwater. What? You can't. You can't have gardens in your front. You can't have garden plants like food plants in your front yard because neighborhood rules type shit. Those kinds of things are coming up, and they are expanding. They're expanding more. I will say that's the one thing I love about England over North America is that having a garden is still considered the norm. Having chickens in your garden is still considered the norm. Having ducks, even having a couple of sheep if you have enough land, that is still considered very normal here. Whereas in Canada, you have a house, even if you're in the suburbs somewhere and you say you've got a half acre of land out in the suburbs somewhere, you try having chickens on your land. Your neighbors will fucking complain instantaneously. The cops will be on your door going, your rooster woke up the lady next door. I'm sorry, you're going to have to put it down. Right? Whereas in England, that's still really acceptable. It's like, even we've got somewhere here. I live in a small suburb of Birmingham. There's someone on our street that has chickens because the rooster, we hear it all the time.
Well, it's a cultural thing as well. It's the English garden, because being here in Australia, we have a lot of gardens, which is very conformed and unnatural, but parks and everything else like that. So it's I don't see the English giving up their garden, because it's like, I think not so. You've crossed the line. I'm putting my cup of tea down.
Well, and that's it. Like Jimmy just said, there are obviously some local councils who have got strict bylaws on having livestock. Like you can't have sheep or you can't have chickens or something like that.
I have two things. So that Ice Age farmer, which now I'm wondering if he's fear mongering. He said that in the UK they were going door to door and making people take out their chickens because of the bird flu. And I couldn't find anything online to prove that. And then another thing, talking about the United States, our neighbor had a chicken, and I live in the city. And one of the chickens wound up in our yard, and my oldest son, I was trying to catch it. I was like not letting me get near it. And my oldest son, who's like the animal whisperer, like picked up this chicken and put it back over the fence. But while he was trying to get it, the other neighbor was furious, like that the chicken had the audacity to get out of its pen, and it walked near her yard. It didn't even get in her yard, but she was just furious that there was a chicken walking around. So
that be them there city folk who thought that chicken came from KFC.
But have you heard anything about supposedly people, the government saying you like kill your chickens
in the UK?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah. No, there's been a shit ton of chickens have been killed. And now they just passed a law. I was ranting about this just before Christmas. It came up about a week or two before Christmas that they have the bird flu is now back in England. And anyone who has chickens or poultry of any kind has to have an enclosure that is completely netted, so that wild birds can't get in and mix with your, because crows love mixing with chickens and turkeys and ducks. Apparently they're best friends. pigeons, But yeah, you have to completely. So I'm on quite a few small holding groups in England, and people were in a complete panic of like, oh great, 2 weeks before Christmas, we have to build a chicken enclosure, and we have 48 hours to do it, or we have to kill all our chickens, or ducks, or turkeys, or partridge, or whatever it is that they're raising. No, and if this isn't the first time. This is apparently the second or third time England's done this. It's crazy. It is crazy.
Get this. I go over to my dad's to bring him food, Danny, because I've been cooking for him every week. I know you're proud of me.
Good girl.
I'm actually cooking now, like really cooking.
She actually does good too.
I made my first
You do.
bean chili the other day. And anyway,
Nice.
I get over there, girl. And this is the man that hates hospitals and is freaked out about germs, the whole 9 yards. And I'm getting in the car and he says to me, granted, he had gone to the doctor that morning because, remember we were dealing with all the kidney crap he had.
Yep.
So they were working on him yesterday about that shot. So I get there and as I'm leaving, he says, yeah, I'm thinking about getting the shot. I'm going to wait a couple months. And I fucking lost it, man. I fucking, what? I'm in the driveway and I start screaming and he's like looking around and I'm like, God damn it. And, I just start in and I'm like, am I on a different timeline here? Because this man would never let you put a shot. So like I've been sending him things this morning about, 27 dead, 135 maimed out of New York and trying to freak his ass out.
Did you send him the one that I put up yesterday? That's if you go on my wall, it's a double screenshot. Someone had posted the news article and then a screenshot. So I took them and put them together in one image so it's easier to share. And yeah, it's Syracuse nursing home suddenly has 137 cases of COVID and 24 people have died. And that came out 2 days ago or 3 days ago. And I immediately was like, and how many of them had just been given the vaccine? News comes out the next day. They had just vaccinated on the 22nd of December. 80% of the staff and residents had been vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine. Now they've got 137 sick, 24 dead, but they're coming in to give them the second jab tomorrow.
Yeah. So it's insane. And I like I said, I couldn't believe my dad actually said that. So I'm like driving home going, am I in a different timeline? Because this is bullshit. Like what am I going to do if my whole family gets these shots? I'm
don't go see them for a couple of weeks.
I told him, I said, if you get that fucking shot, I ain't cooking for you. I'm not coming over here no more. That's it, Dad. And he just looks at me and I'm like, I'm not fucking kidding.
I'm not getting that. I'm not going to allow you to shed that. Now, listen, that's what I keep saying. Like, I can't give a word in it. We've taken the piss. Let's call it what it is. We've been taking the piss out of the whole social distancing, the masking, the gloves, the hand sanitizers, etc. for 11 months. But now that this vaccine is being rolled out publicly, now I'm to the point of like, maybe I'm going to pull out my N95 in the very hopes that we don't go anywhere. We don't go anywhere in our house. Nowhere. We go to the grocery store once a week and back. That's it. But now I'm actually fucking concerned. And I'm not concerned about getting COVID-19, the wild virus. I'm concerned about the fact there's going to be all these fucking people walking around who've just been vaccinated who are going to shed all that fucking Frankenvirus, whatever the fuck is in that vaccine, all over everyone else in the public. That scares me.
It's the same concept as somebody taking chemo. Because I don't know if y'all know this, but like if you lay in a bed next to somebody who's taking chemo, you can have a reaction because it's coming out of their skin. And I did not know that. Yeah, I had it happen to me with my mom. So that's
My dad had leukemia. He found out 3 years later, and he beat it. But he had some radiation therapy or something, and they had to, I think, throw away the underwear or something like that because it was radioactive. So that does make sense. If you've got the radiation in your body, the body obviously becomes radioactive.
It
Yeah,
makes total sense. I'd never thought of it on that level before,
Yeah,
but it does make absolute sense.
it
I don't know.
is the same thing. It is. I, and to think that my dad is anti everything, and then he goes down yesterday to have a fucking checkup, and between that time and coming back, that doctor did a number on him.
Yeah. And that's what we're seeing. I mean, this is it. I have seen people who I know are very natural health minded, are very, very, don't go to doctors, don't really do the whole Western medicine, etc. And I've seen posts from them saying they're going to go get the vaccine because that's the fear porn, right? It has been so fear porn into society, and to the point of people have literally, it's like a wall. It's like you get dropped into a box and you're unable to think yourself outside of that box. They have been completely programmed that this is I don't know.
I get the feeling that we're living in the last act of Return of the Revenge of the Sith, with like what's happening in the politics and everything else like that. Oh no, we'll reorganize everything so the great American empire and Emperor Biden will help us, and then we find out 2 months later, shit.
I just don't know. No, Laura, I'm the same. We don't go anywhere in our house. Nick goes to the post office once or twice a week if we have orders going out. Go to the corner store to go grab bread, milk, that kind of stuff that you have to top up during the week, and go to the grocery store once a week to get like all your fresh produce and that kind of thing. We don't leave the house. We don't go out. And I have no interest in going out. And my kids were talking about the fact of like, the things that they need. We've got birthdays coming up. February is like fucking birthday month from hell in our house. We have 3 birthdays in February. 3 birthdays in the first 2 weeks of February. And I said, everything's getting ordered online. Even if places are open, I'm not going out in public. I mean, everything's fucking shut. Everything is fucking locked down here again. But even if things are open, I wouldn't go. I don't want to be out in crowds of people right now. And it has nothing to do with being afraid of the virus. God knows. But I'll tell you, that vaccine scares the shit out of me.
But if you explain to people what the vaccine actually will do, which is scientific fact, and it's not settled, but they've done massive studies of how these things work, you'll be labeled an anti-vaxxer and you'll be a pariah of society.
Yep. It's been very clever. Listen, I've talked about it before. I'm in a group. It's a foraging group, and it's Hedge Witchery and Foraging Group on Facebook. Huge group. I don't know. It's got probably about 70,000 people in it. And I guess something happened last week, because I don't see the posts. You know what it's like. It's like if it comes by, I see it type thing. And there was this rant on, how dare someone give natural health advice to someone else in the group who was sick? They have no right. And that's what if anyone saw my post on Facebook that was like, I love arguing with people who use terms like ableism, and you are enabling people, and you are and they have no fucking concept what those words actually mean, but they throw it out to be, if you're doing anything that is against their opinion. And this group, and I was like, this is a group that's full of foragers, people who are making tinctures and making their own balms and making their own herbal teas, et cetera, et cetera. And the amount of shocking programmed responses of, oh, that's evil and you can't say that. Oh, modern medicine, it can never be replaced by herbs and plants. Never, ever. And there's one lovely lady who was trying really trying hard to be, she was very level-headed, very calm, trying to like rebut some of the things that were being said. And I finally just posted directly to her on the whole comment thing. It was just like, don't waste your breath. You can't reason with these people. They have been programmed to think what they think, and no amount of evidence that you show them will ever be enough to change their mind. You might as well just stop now. And she was just like, no, what? Thank you. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm in the middle of doing some painting. I'm going to go back to painting my kitchen. And she fucking signed off and hasn't come back to the group since, I don't think.
Even if you point out that humanity has been around for up to 300,000 years, and I would say maybe the start of the 20th century, most shit's been plant-based.
Everything's been plant-based for the most part.
Everything's plant-based. And then the chemical revolution, and that's, I think the law is you cannot copyright something that's natural. And that's why the pharmaceutical companies fuck with it, technical
and make
term.
derivatives.
So, yeah, and so like, oh, this is blah blah blah. Instead of like, my dad has psoriasis or some skin crap, and it went over with some coconut oil, and he put it on, and in 20 minutes was like, this is awesome, and he kept putting it on because he could see the benefit. When I had my moment with that is I went to a chemist, Priceline, whatever they're called, and I got antifungal cream, and basically the itching went from my ankles up to my knees. I'm like, this is helping it. And then I put on coconut oil and felt relief instantly, and it was gone in a week or two.
Yeah.
Because it's that weird thing about how nature works together if it's done correctly.
There's a twisting of history, though. And this is one of the pieces that is, I mean, because we talk about history and you know, history is written by the victors, et cetera, et cetera. We get that on a political level, and we get that on, like, say, a financial level, etc. But when it comes to medicine, there is a indoctrinated belief structure that has gone along with history, that everyone died before the ages of 30 1,000 years ago. Like, if you lived to be 30, you were an old person, and that there was no medicine, there was no health, there was no nothing. Okay. But if you actually read history, okay, famous writers like Pliny the Younger and Pliny the Elder, famous writers like Hippocrates, these guys, these are famous medical tomes that were written anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 years ago. Modern science is now studying and going, oh, look, fuck, they were right. Look, black seed oil does fucking cure just about everything. Oh, look, cannabis does cure just about everything. Oh, look, all these plant things. So there is a set programming that they look at people dying, and they talk about, you know, like women died in childbed. Childbed fever killed millions and millions of women at the turn of the 19th century. Oh, sorry, the turn of the 20th century, I should say. And everyone goes, oh my God, thank God for modern obstetrics because it saved all these women. No, it hasn't. The reason why all those women died of childbed fever is because they started going to hospitals to have their babies. What you had in hospitals was people with the plague, people with staph, and other infections, and doctors did not understand the concept of, washing and scrubbing their hands to a surgical level of cleanliness, and they go right from carving up a cadaver of someone who had died of Spanish flu, and without even so much as washing their hands, they'd go and deliver a baby, and then wonder why the woman and the baby died. Okay, when women were giving birth at home, yes, obviously there were babies that were lost, and there were women who were lost in childbirth, because there are times when shit just goes radically fucking wrong, just like everything else in nature. But women were healthy. Now, it was really, really interesting. What is the biggest killer of people in the last 1,000 years? Malnutrition and lack of sanitation. You go read Roman historical documents, and I'm talking actual Roman historical documents. And if you go in the Unfuckers library, there's a whole shitload of writings by some of the ancient emperors and generals of Rome. Marcus Aurelius, one of them. All of his books are in the Unfuckers library. When you read, they didn't have a problem. They had very little problem with a lot of those diseases. Why? Because one of the things Rome did was put in sanitation, aqueducts, sewage systems. The shit was carried away. You weren't allowed to just dump your shit, your chamber bucket, fucking out a window onto the street. You'd be in fucking serious trouble if you did. It had to be disposed of in proper areas. Sanitation and malnutrition are the #1 killers. Go research the fucking Irish potato famine, right? To understand some of the background on these things. When you had entire massive countries of people who had no clean water because all of a sudden logic went out the fucking window and they started just dumping their piss and their shit into rivers and letting it wash downstream where the livestock were eating, who would then get sick and die. That is what killed people, not the lack of medicine. Now, again, you can take it farther and go, let's look at, for example, I talked about the, fucking the name of the document's gone right, the Hammer of the Witches, which came out in the 1400s, which was by the Catholic Church, of course, which was then used to anyone who they didn't like was called a heretic and burned at the stake. Millions of herbalists, midwives, not just women, but also men who were herbalists, were all killed. Why? Because the church at the time had instituted a thing that the only thing you needed to heal was prayer. You just need prayer. If you prayed hard enough to God, you don't need a poultice, and you don't need someone to give you something for pain or infections or God knows, appendicitis. No, you just need prayer. So therefore, anyone who was going against it was branded a heretic and burned at the stake.
What was that, Monty? And donations. There was that side scam where you can pay to the church. The bigger payment, the bigger spot you have in heaven.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. That was all the same time, right? And you could pay for people to pray for you. You could pay them you could buy your way into heaven. You could pay someone to pray for you for 12 hours a day.
Isn't there a song about that? Buying the staircase to heaven.
Buying a stairway to heaven, yeah. So
the interesting thing is, like with manifestation, it can work if it's pure intent. I've seen a video of three Chinese
doctors.
Yeah, you see where they remove a gallbladder or something like that. They're just
it was a cancerous tumor within the bladder on a woman, and you actually watch it shrink on the ultrasound. You can see it shrinking on the ultrasound.
Yeah. And it's so fascinating, like watching, dare I say, Ip Man, like a kung fu master, where they've reached Zen and they can beat up 28 people, but still feel that flow and in the moment. It's like I don't want to beat up 28 men, but I want to achieve that whole thing of complete calm, where 18 fat guys with swords are coming at
you. But this is it. So. History derides all these things. History tries to convince us that anyone of them good old days, them olden times, were stupid. They had no technology. They had no education. They didn't know anything of what they were doing. They had a terrible lifespan. They only lived. They were just stupid people. That's it. Nothing.
They were better monkeys.
And it's so wrong. Like, all you've got to do is actually go actually read the real histories. Go and actually read all this stuff, and you'll discover incredible fucking things. I stumbled on something. Okay, go away. Go lay down. Go lay down. Now. No, you're not coming on my lap. Group, go away.
Denny, The weirdest thing is, why do these people always think people were stupid back then? I just yesterday saw an interesting old clip from, well, who was it? Carl Sagan, who explained how the Greeks measured almost the Earth's, what do you call it? Like the circumvention.
Yeah.
Circumference, right? Just with sticks on two different places and the sun and yada, yada, yada. And just a guy walking from one stick to the other, measuring how far it was in steps and shit like that.
Yep.
I mean, seriously, how do we think people were stupid back then? They did all that in their head, or at least with like, what do you call this wooden thing where you have those pearls on and you can calculate with?
An abacus?
Something like that, you know, like, and maybe a sheet of paper, and not the technology we have today. I mean, for crying out loud, there are pyramids been built.
That's part of the dumbing down using education, because it sounds like it's an element of control. Because if you tell the people that the old were dumb, oh, clearly we're better, and you ignore all the old stuff, and there's an element of control. And you've seen like the last 100 years where, like, I would like to know when they stopped teaching critical thinking in school, because I think that would be key to actually have critical thinking in school.
No. I mean, that's what the Industrial Revolution brought about, was public education, and deliberately, and it had nothing to do with educating people to be independent, smart people. They needed to raise a society to run their industrialization, because up until that point, people lived in villages. They lived on farms. They had their plot of land. They grew their own stuff. Maybe you were a cobbler. Maybe you were a blacksmith. Maybe you were a saddlery maker. Maybe you were a leather tanner. You were a weaver. You were a tailor. And families grew up within their own, you know, like the father to son, mother to daughter. These information was passed down. Along came the industrialization age, where all of a sudden they started building factories. So they had to pull people out of the countryside into the cities to run all these factories. And that public education was passed and created solely to make a working class that could work within the factories, that could do what they were told, have enough education to know what they were doing, but they were taught what to do. And the concept of critical thinking has been very, very slowly erased from all public education. So now there's nothing. Now there is no. To the point, there's been a stream of articles, especially in the last 2 years, talking about we need to bring back the colleges and the getting the kids to do apprenticeships. We need to bring back the actual professions that in reality support reality. We need to bring back, you know, people going to college to learn how to be an electrician, a plumber, to learn how to be to work in steel, how to do all of these different jobs. These are vitally important, and no one's doing them, because kids are done this, going through this brainwashing of, oh, but you want to be a lawyer? Because God knows we need more lawyers in this world. You want to be a lawyer because they make so much money. You want to be a doctor because they make so much money. You want to be an IT guy because they make so much money. But now we have a shortage of electricians and auto mechanics and plumbers. And guess who's making all the fucking money? It ain't the lawyers, and it ain't the bakers, it's the bankers.
So out of Jackson, my son, so he's 18. He's got a core group of friends, 6 friends. And so I'm a tradesperson. So whenever they came over here for lunch, I would push the trades, because I was trying to think of these kids in the future and what jobs can be taken over from AI, right? There's a lot of things that artificial intelligence and robotics can take over in the future, but I still can't figure out how a robot's going to wire your house, like physically get behind the wall and run the cables and things like that.
And so fix your broken plumbing.
Yeah, so what was really nice is 2 of them are going in for plumbing. Jackson's going to finish his photography and go for electrical. All 5 of them are going into the trades, and I was so happy that they listened. The one boy was going to go to university. His mother's probably going to kill me for pharmaceuticals, and I said, well, you know, even that job can be taken over by AI. I said, when I went to college 30 years ago, we even had people from university coming to college because there was more practical skills, because academically, like, I don't want to knock the engineering trades or anything like that, but you still need someone to get their hands dirty.
Exactly.
And do the work. And we've always been looked down upon because we're the tradespeople, but I think we're going to have more value in the future. I don't know, just being in this different business right now, selling on different platforms. I'm always watching videos and I see these young kids coming on. I say young kids, they're young to me, but they're in their 20s. And oh, I made $10,000 last month drop shipping on Amazon, and I'm thinking, no skill. Amazon just has to cut you off, and then you're toast. You have nothing to back yourself up with.
Just like Parlor, Amazon took them off the cloud. They have all the power.
Yep.
Exactly.
And I mean, this is it. I mean, we have to, like, God knows we have this conversation all the time about broad spectrum. You got to expand your horizons of how you're earning money nowadays. Because, for example, Nancy's work, my work, it's all done online.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if the internet goes down?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if your websites go down? Do you have a trade, a skill that you can use to make money in the actual physical reality that is around us? These are the lost arts. And even to the point of farming. Now, I love to see that we're in England here. There's been a lot of, I've seen some great stuff coming by about apprenticeships on farms and trying reinvesting in the young people to get them back working on the land. Well, they have no choice because you've had this huge expansion of all these, you know, grandma and grandpa's farm where the next generation all went off to university. And they got jobs in the city, and there's no one left. Sooner or later, when there's no one left to do the farming, guess what, folks? You're eating Monsanto fucking lab-made human meat.
They're pushing
because that's all that's going to be left.
Yeah, because all the farmers are like 70 years old and over. And so they're giving grants for young farmers, which a young farmer is a farmer that's between around the age of 30 to 40. Those are the young farmers. So they're giving out these grants. The problem is people that like my age in their 30s, like we can't afford land. So
exactly.
So it's this catch-22, but you can now lease land to farm on, which I was like over the summer just trying to lease some land, and it was just almost impossible. And then but yeah, they're really pushing. They're trying to find young farmers. And like when you were talking about learning a skill too, there's this guy who was reading like diary entries from the Great Depression. And I would be listening for a while. I was like driving and then would forget that it was from the Great Depression and then like snap out of it and be like, oh yeah, like this sounds like now.
Yep.
Like suddenly I'm going to school for biology, like all the biologists were out of a job, all of the lawyers were out of a job, all of the people with these intangible skills didn't have any work. Yep. And like you had to know how to sew your own clothes, you had to know how to like fix a chair, you had to know how to grow your own food, and people were just like starving to death because they had no way to earn money and they had no skills.
Yep. I talk about it all the time. You guys have heard me rant about this for fucking years now, about that whole thing of generating the biggest asset you can own is knowledge. The largest asset you can possibly have is knowledge. second to knowledge is experience, right? So it's like you can know all about, you can study all the medical stuff about how to set a broken bone, but you also need experience in doing it. You can know all about, read lots and stuff and watch YouTube videos about how to fix a broken chair, but you need the practical to learn about it. Now, again, one of the things that I love about England is that small holdings are still a major part of society here.
What's a small holding?
A small holding, and I'm Jimmy and Clive, maybe you guys correct me if I'm wrong. A small holding is you own a piece of land. It doesn't have to be a farm. It could be an acre. I've seen small holdings that are less than an acre. And it's the people have registered as a small holding, which means they're growing food. They will have maybe a couple of sheep. Maybe they have horses. Maybe they have chickens. They have ducks. And it's a registered thing. And as a small holder, you have certain things that you are allowed to do. You are certain things, allowances. You can graze as a smallholder. You can graze your livestock on common land. So I've seen a ton of properties listed that are like, say, only 2 acres, a house with maybe an outbuilding like a barn or a small barn or a stable, and 2 acres. And the people have sheep, but their land abuts to common land. Now in England, there's shit tons of common land. Common land means it's land that anyone can use. And as a smallholder, you can just put your sheep out on the common land. So if you only have 1 acre, you could still have maybe 5 sheep by law and let them graze on common land and not have to worry about it. It gives a certain amount of rights to people to become a smallholder, right? That's everywhere in England, Wales, Scotland, I think in Ireland as well. And because that there is a lifestyle there, there's an ability, you can rent small holdings. Now, granted, you've got to have the money to pay the rent, obviously, right? Like, so a lot of people would be, one of you'd have to be working full time. But I saw a little one in Scotland, and it was just like a little house, a little 2-bedroom house it had a small barn on it, like it's just maybe a 15 by 20 foot little barn on it, and a small stable. It was 2 acres of land, and it was renting for 450 quid a month. So 450 pounds sterling would be, call that in American dollars, that would be about 575. And then you'd have council taxes and other things like that on top of it. But you technically you can do that. And I know several people who do run dog rescues, et cetera, and they go and they rent a small holding. And if it's already been classified as a small holding, then they can rescue animals. They can do everything they want on it.
There used to be allotments.
And allotments in England. Yeah. See, and that's the thing, Katie. I was just going to say, and someone in your situation, if you live in, doesn't happen so much in places, obviously, like the center of Manchester or London, England, where land is at a premium. But in any of these outlying towns, you can apply for an allotment. An allotment is a piece of common land that is, and they'll give you like your half acre. And you go, here you go, that's your allotment. You can do whatever you want with it. You can grow your plants on it. You can keep chickens. You can keep ducks. It's your responsibility to look after the land, make sure it's fertilized and make sure your plants are watered, etc. But allotments are extremely common here. So there's a lot of competition right now for allotments with all these lockdowns. Everyone's been like, oh, I want a garden. I'm going to go try and get an allotment. So there's a waiting list now all of a sudden.
All the land
but you
here
could
is,
apply.
All spoken for pretty much. Of course, I'm in New Haven. That's kind of like near New York, but in Connecticut. But so all the land's spoken for, but there is the only thing I could find which was super affordable. It was like for $50 or $150 a year per acre, you could get land that's owned by the water company, where pipes go under that land, but you can't have animals on it, and it has to be like all organic. And usually there's like brambles and trees, and it would kind of cost a lot of money to clear out everything.
Yep.
But you could, but also there's no water hookup, so you'd have
Give me
to
1
like
second.
truck in your own water. So it would be really hard to kind of keep a garden going unless you had a big water tank and a truck, or maybe some way to collect water.
I think in the US as well, everything is, all the land's basically spoken for, and the government has a lot, like the Bureau of Land Management, which is BLM, so that works out well. Same thing here in Australia. We have Crown Land, which is either for the Crown or it's the organisation, or
Even if you say, oh, there's an abandoned lot, can I fix it up? And they're like, it's against code this, regulation that, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
It's a health violation to grow a sunflower over here. Even the patch of grass in between like a house and the sidewalk.
Yep.
Not allowed
It's
to
owned
do
by the
anything
city.
with it. Do not do anything besides maybe shovel snow off of it, because that's your responsibility.
And mow it. You have to mow it.
And you have to mow it if it's got grass. Yep. Well, this is the thing. No, I was part of a group years and years ago that talked about what you could do. And one of the, unfortunately, it doesn't help if you're in a city. But if you're outside of the city where there are farms near you, there's a lot of farms in Canada and the States specifically that have got fields that are abandoned. As in, farmers can't plant it all, and you can go look around, see if you can find a field that looks like it's empty, and ask, can I rent that piece of that field just to grow some garden stuff? I'll give you $50 a year, whatever. And there is a very good chance of being able to find stuff like that. But again, it's one of those things. It's okay if you're outside of the cities. If you're in the cities, you're kind of fucking stuck.
There's this guy called Greg Judy. He's got a channel on YouTube, and he's an old timer, and he's quit his job in like the bank, or I don't know. He quit his job and started raising cattle, and he'll rent like overgrown fields from farmers who have all this land, and he'll like lease the land from them and then put the cows on the land and raise the cows, and then the cows chew up all the bramble and all of the garbage, like all of the weeds, fertilize the soil, and then he'll butcher the cattle and sell it, or sell the cattle, and he started making a great living doing that.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. This is the thing is that in places like America and in Canada, the only way to do stuff is to get creative. Like, you really do have to get creative, because there is nothing for the most part within society that supports that stuff anymore if you're living in the cities.
One thing I did find yesterday, actually, I joined this app because a neighbor had left a note. So I opened it, and it was like join Nextdoor, which is an app. And it's like everyone in your community can be on this app, and it's almost like a Facebook group, but its own app. And all of a sudden I'm seeing, and of course everyone's in lockdown, so they're on their phones. All of a sudden I'm seeing people asking for plumbers, people asking for hardware, all of it's local. And I was like, oh my God, it's happening. So I was like, maybe I could set it up to where it's like, let's get a group of us, and like, I'll grow sweet peas, you grow lettuce, like pick a crop, let's do an experiment and grow a whole bunch and then share it. But I get like this, I get like super inspired, and I make all these plans or start a huge project like this, and then I'll get busy with school or with my family, and then like a month in, I'm like, I'm done with this project. So I kind of like almost don't want to do it.
But be careful, because the FBI may think that you're a domestic terrorist group.
Oh yeah.
It could happen. Unfortunately, it could
proof.
very much happen.
Yeah.
It's very hard in 2021 to find out what's parody and satire, because I'm tired of my jokes coming true. It's scary.
I hate, like, my fiance was watching SNL, and like sometimes it's funny, but so much of it is like just programming. But I also like to watch it because I'm like, okay, what are they pushing now? But SNL was on the background, and every time there would be a commercial break, I always think it's a skit because you just can't tell like what is
Can't tell
serious and what's
anymore.
satire anymore.
Oh, there's ads that come out, and I was laughing yesterday or the day before. I saw multiple things that now it was posted by a friend of mine who's got a rather interesting sense of humor. Let's just put it that way. She posts stuff that she's found on Wish and things like that. You're just like you're joking, right? Like this has got to be a joke. But she's posted stuff, and I literally will say to her, "Go like, okay, Sam, is this a real ad or is this just like a meme type created ad?" And she'll be like, "No, this is real. Someone actually created this, like a shield to hug your baby with." And it's like clear plastic with the armholes in it. So you could pick up your baby and hug your baby, but not have to worry about germs or the baby spitting up on you. And another one was like you've seen those ones that look like the stupid laundry bag that are clear and people are wearing them over their heads with armholes. And go visit grandma and give her a hug. Are you kidding? Are you kidding?
Was
And
it like those masks? Was it like those masks they were in the Capitol?
There are no words. There are no
Basically,
words. Like you just.
They want everyone to. It's if you remember Bubble Boy. I don't think I've seen the movie.
Yeah.
But, Seinfeld did a good joke about it where it was off screen, so they didn't have to have it. But I've just thought about it. If society keeps doing that, because I'm not a parent, but I believe the best way to help a child's immune system is kick them outside play in the dirt and just let the immune system alone. But if everything is sterilized, just a normal flu could destroy society type thing.
Oh, absolutely. And I've talked about this in parenting groups for the last 18 years. Is the fact of when all of a sudden they began with this whole thing of antibacterial everything. Antibacterial baby wipes, antibacterial dish soap, antibacterial laundry soap, hand soap, shower gel, shampoo, antibacterial everything. And it used to be the comment I used to make, like, do you not understand that the reason how you build an immune system is by bacteria? The reason we have superbugs right now is because of antibacterial medications. Antibiotics are what have created MRSA and superbugs.
I know. Instead of like bleach, I wish they would come out with a spray that was just like good bacteria. Spray the hospital floor with good bacteria. Like, why do you need to kill everything?
I wonder if you could, like get like the probiotic type bacteria that you get in the capsules. If you could like put that in some water, like, empty them out and then just like spray it on shit. I don't know. Did you hear Nick in the background? Nick just said, lick your phone every morning.
Oh, nice. I just remembered the South Park did an episode, 10, 15 years ago, where the kids went to a measles party and they got back because they went to a lady of the night and they all got herpes or whatever. I don't know if that's been cancelled, but in the last decade, they've clamped down on that. I think I went to one or two when I was 6.
Oh,
and it's just, it was a rite of passage to get kids to have the disease and move forward. Now,
and get it over and done with.
Yeah, and if you do that now, you could end up in jail. That's how much it's changed in a decade.
Oh, yeah. Like I joke when my kids had chicken pox. It was one of Quinlan's best friends got chicken pox, and her mom called me immediately and was like, oh, I think she's got chicken pox. I was like, I'm sending the kids over. Can they stay at your place tonight? She was like, absolutely, send them over. And I literally pack a bag. You're going to Shiloh's house. Off you go. And they all got chicken pox. And we were all like, yes. And I like on my line to my friends in Toronto and the mother's group going, my girls have got chicken pox. Who's coming over? And they're all like, I am. Bring them the kids right now. We'll get in the car in the next 15 minutes. Because the way you get over chicken pox is you get the chicken pox.
Yeah.
And then you're immune.
Yes, but now you'll be arrested. Yeah. Isn't it weird?
Germophobia is cool.
It's almost as if nature has a plan, right?
You and your nature and plan ideas, like how everything seems to work as a complex system.
Nick won't make me more coffee.
Lies. I'm making her coffee right now.
Oh, cognitive dissonance. Example right there.
I know. Yeah, I mean, that's just it. Everything that is up is, we're told, is down. Everything that's inside, we're told, is outside. It's everything is so cognitive dissonance. Like, and it's you run through. You don't know what you know until all of us, sorry, you don't know what is an assumption that you think you know until you start going researching it. And like the history, of course, is one of them. When you start going and looking through history and going, well, that's not what I was taught in school. Wait a second, this is all fucked up. And then you start researching into the background reasons of things. I was really, really interested. And I'll get into this discussion in a second about what this last 2 weeks has been like. We'll go there too. But I was just sitting there going, I need a day of just do nothing, do nothing that is no researching per se. Just go on YouTube and just watch videos about whatever, something just interesting, right? And I'd started off with watching a video about them renovating an old Scottish castle. Because, I mean, seriously, that's about as interesting as you're going to get, watching someone renovate an old Scottish castle. And a video came up, and it was about corsets. And a woman hand sewing and making a proper Victorian corset. And I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. I can't even imagine how difficult that would be. So I started watching the video. And I fucking learned so much in a half-hour video. It was shocking. And one of the things that she said, and then of course I went on a research spree because I had to verify this. You watch Hollywood movies, right? So it's like in Pirates of the Caribbean, and Miss Swan gets like laced into her corset so tight that she and passes out. Do you know that never happened? That it didn't happen? That is all complete and utter fucking bullshit? Women removing ribs to have tiny waists didn't fucking happen. It wasn't medically possible in Victorian England to have done that anyway. The entire thing that we've been sold by Hollywood about this whole thing about corsets were like this patriarchal, men forced women to wear corsets because it was a patriarchal, fashionista society. It's all bullshit. All bullshit. 100% bullshit. So I spent a whole day researching corsets and stays and busks, how they were made, how they were used, etc. Blow my mind. Well, little information tip, women's dresses, the formal court type dresses, were made by tailors. Who were the tailors? It was the men. When you got into around the 1700s, 1800s, it started to turn that you had women were doing all the dressmaking, the real formal dressmaking, and making what they call stays and corsets, etc., to fit under the dresses. And all of a sudden, there was this whole thing in Victorian England where women became all the milliners, and women became all the dressmakers, women became all the jewelry maker. Like, it started really, really turning. And there was a huge, and that was at the time where you had the, what do they call it? The suffragette movement, right? Where you had the women standing up for women's rights, etc. And the way that men attacked it was to start this whole thing about corsets, that corsets were cutting off women's air. So therefore they couldn't breathe properly. Therefore they couldn't think properly, and they couldn't be allowed to make any decisions because the corsets were cutting off all their airflow to their brains, apparently. And I was shocked because here's a piece of history that you assume you know. And then all of a sudden you actually go reading into it and you go, it's a fucking absolutely 100% piece of bullshit. And that was just from one day of like just flipping through YouTube going, I just want to go learn something new. Let's just learn something new.
You know what my favorite YouTube channel is when I get the rare day where I have nothing, or I just I refuse to do anything. Sometimes you just have to be very stubborn and be like, don't ask for, there are snacks on the counter. There's milk in the fridge. Like you're on your own.
On you go.
You're on your own. But there's this YouTube channel. I'll post a link to like one of her videos. But it's this Chinese girl, and she doesn't talk. There's just like Chinese music in the background.
She just makes all the shit.
She just makes all the shit.
Oh my! I've seen those. I've seen her some of the videos.
Yeah, my son says that she seems miserable sometimes. They're like, make the basket or else.
Yeah.
If I'm sick or something, or it's like raining, and I love that.
She
I love
also
it.
likes the one where they build random houses by the
Oh, or like the real life Minecraft where they're out in the jungle and they're like making the huts and they make a pond for the wild alligators and like a slide, and that's super cool.
I know, they're awesome. All that creative stuff.
Yeah.
Go look up some videos of some of the renovations in old Scottish castles and shit like that. That's fucking interesting shit too. Just for shits and giggles, if you just want something to while away a half hour that's just interesting shit. Yeah.
Katie, is that Chinese girl? Is she the one that took the big palm leaves and kind of she made baskets and like she did a whole bunch of stuff?
She'll like grow the leaves and then weave the leaves and then cook in the thing.
Yeah, like
it's
just
like,
yeah.
Huge okay, I think I've seen
I put
that.
a link in the chat of just one of her videos.
Oh, okay.
But it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about what the fuck since the 21st of December. And I'm going to the time outside of time.
You mean Jamiroquai's failed album launch?
No. We'll go there in a minute. In a minute.
I'm just holding back at this so much because, ladies and gentlemen, Danny and I have memeing our asses off in the last 7 days. So
and you two have kept my sanity because I live for those memes on both your channels, and I don't click it like very often, but I feel like I'm going out of my mind. So I live for those memes. So keep it up.
I just, you know what? I can't speak for Monty, for myself. When the shit is this fucking crazy, all you can do is laugh. And if you can't laugh, you gotta do something. And that's why it's just been like, I just fucking memerific. I've been, I don't know, posting 15, 20 memes a day sometimes just because you just gotta laugh.
I walk away from my social media for 2 hours, come back, 45 notifications on Facebook. Oh, for fuck's sake. Click.
Social media. I cannot find for the life of me how to get back into the message boards in RTS. Like there's no link. I cannot find it.
RTS.
Is that the old website?
Yeah, there is no message boards. RTS is just articles.
Which one is? Where can you just chat with people and do the posts?
Unfuckers Unite.
There's a link on RTS for Unfuckers Unite, but when you click on it, it's just like a web page that's not interactive at all. And I was using it like a while ago, like a couple weeks ago.
Hey,
a week ago.
I logged in this morning and it worked, but it was acting weird last night.
It auto updated. Unfortunately, WordPress has done this thing where they start, even though you guys know Penny's been helping me lots. We keep turning off the auto updates. It doesn't matter. It does auto updates. I got notification from someone who said I can't get into the forum. She wanted to go pull a recipe out of the cooking forum, and she was like, I can't. It just won't. So I wasn't in. It seemed to work for me, but like everything technological right now is, I have broken links that are, I know they're set. Those links are set. Those links should go directly where they're supposed to go. And then, something in the background of like the tech world does an auto update and all of a sudden shit doesn't work. So I'll go in and take a look and see what I can do, Katie. But I honestly don't know anymore. I don't know. It's fucking crazy. Right. Going back to 21st of December.
I'm going to monologue for just a second here. And those of you who've been doing this for a while with me, you can go to sleep because I'm not really going to say anything new because I say this fucking every year at this time of the year. That time frame from December 21st, that usually goes to about the first week of January. And I talk about every year I go deep researching again that what was considered in Rome, ancient Rome, time outside of time. The Roman god Janus, who that is his time period between the 21st of December, the equinox, to around between the 5th and the 8th of January. And during that time, those days had no numbers. They had no days. They were literally time outside of time. They stopped reckoning time on the 21st, and they did not start the calendars again start calculating days again until that first week of January. And every year, there's this, what do you call it? An energetic feeling. There is something that happens in that time frame that takes us, it's like time really does cease to exist. Now, I know it is a confusing time because you've got Christmas and you got Boxing Day and you've got Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and then you've got New Year's Eve and you've got New Year's Day, and that week in between is always a little crazy, especially if you work in retail. But that time, even, and this year was actually a good example of that, because this year there was no New Year's Eve, right? Who had fucking New Year's Eve this year? No one went out. I don't know, everyone I know of, they were in lockdown for New Year's Eve. They were in lockdown for Christmas. So those holiday festive time was radically changed, and yet the feeling that came with it didn't. I lost this week. I gained a day earlier in the week, and then I lost a day at the end of the week. I went through all of Saturday until Kelsey sent me a message saying, "Oh, it's Saturday." And I went, "Oh, fuck, is it seriously it's Saturday?" I was convinced it was Friday. Yet on Tuesday, I was convinced it was Wednesday. Convinced, 100% convinced. Everything has been completely off kilter. Time is not moving even remotely properly, even more so than usual. Now, the interesting thing is that every single year since 2015, because that's when I really started tracking it, was 2015. In that time, there's always a major fucking event that happens. If you will remember last year, we had the almost World War III with Iran that happened in that week between Christmas and New Year's. Ouch. We had, Mr. Nick has decided to come and join us.
I'm done my things.
You've done all your fixing? He's done all his fixing. We've had major shittery happen within the Federal Reserve. Always seems to happen in that time frame because they know people are going to be distracted. They know that people are not going to be paying attention to the, the financial news or the political news so much. I look at this year, what happened, and all that insanity. This year, it was exponentially crazy, exponentially off the charts, and it hasn't ended. We're now at the 11th of January, and I'm still find myself every morning getting up, and I don't know what to do. I'm in this place of, what do I do now? It's not like New Year's ends and then things gets back to normal within a couple of days, and my Gaia's Garden is back open again. Orders come in. It doesn't matter. There's still this very heavy feeling of nothing is right. Nothing is sitting. Nothing is moving. Nothing is moving forward. Time is just in like we're in a stagnant bubble and shit hasn't restarted. It's as if the year has not restarted again.
The era is constipated.
The era constipated, yes.
You know why? Because everybody's waiting to see what happens over here.
But not like I get that.
Everybody's waiting.
But I get that.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like this is the thing. Like that affects America, and probably Canadians are pretty tuned into that too. But people in Europe are not looking at what's going on in America, other than to point fingers and make fun. Really, people in Europe are not paying attention that much. Now, yes, okay, I'm gonna get the pile of comments coming in here on the YouTube video going, oh, I'm in Germany, France, Italy, whatever. I get it. You guys are awake though. The reason you watch this show is because you're fucking awake. That's a different thing. I'm talking about the average person. The average person in Europe is not paying. The average person, I'm pretty sure Dean will follow me in Australia, is not following other than to go, what the fuck is going on over there now? Oh my God. Okay, well, let's go to the store and go get on with dinner or whatever. It is not the be all end all to the rest of the world. And while that's an explanation, I get it. It could definitely be a piece of it. There's more to it. There's this feeling of dead air. Whatever.
All the energy has been taken right out of the world, though. In
Yes,
every
yeah.
single way, shape,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
form. It's not just. It's like fucking unplugging a circuit with lockdowns and bullshit like that. All of the energy has been taken right out of the planet on every system, on every level. It's fucking been completely sapped. It's like this last year was a roofie to planet Earth.
It's like, yeah, we're in a waiting room or a loop. It seems like I've got the same thing trying to, I wake up and I achieve one thing and the disconnect from what's happening. That's kind of exciting to watch what's going on because there's something, but the whole energy of it, the whole thing, especially with Australia being in like it's the second, like over 30 degrees heat. And so I had a 2-hour nap today because I get up and I have to have a nap because I've woken up. It's the energy, like, and it's like I'm 46. That's not right, but there is that whole thing of like I want to do. I've got all these things I want to do, but the body and the rest of my multi-dimensional is like no. There seems to be we're like waiting for something. There's got to be a calibration, or the energies.
Danny,
the wake of time's just expanded.
Do you remember in like 2016? Around or whenever the Lilu stuff was, people were having all these waiting room dreams.
Yep.
And now it's kind of like we're there now.
There is that feeling of it that really, that you're just waiting. I get up in the morning and like yesterday I got up and I scrubbed the whole kitchen. And Nick looked at me and was like, "You making product today?" And I was like, No. I scrubbed the kitchen because I literally had to do something. I was like, you look at your Facebook and you're going, oh, no, I don't want to deal with you guys today. And you sit there and go, well, I have to do something. Okay, I guess I'll clean the kitchen. There's no.
You know what, Danny?
I have projects that I could be working on, but there's no.
Yeah.
Enthusiasm or momentum.
We're in an in-between. We're like one age ended and another one's beginning. We're in the fucking middle. And we're sitting there and we don't know what to do with ourselves. And in the meantime, all the sick fucks are acting out and doing their shit. And we're all just kind of like, what the hell is happening?
I think it's going to bite them in the butt, though, because it almost reminds me of like seeds in dormancy. Like all of us are in this state of like non-action. So maybe we'll have this like springtime moment where we can all bloom at once. Hopefully, maybe. I don't know.
There's also a feeling of like we're between seasons of a TV show, and it's like we're waiting for the new episode to kick in, and like the shit that's happened in the last week is like here's a preview or webisode, and I'm like, oh fuck, the writers are worse this time.
Yeah, it's like the fucking never-ending scrolling through Netflix. What do I watch? Drama, fucking.
Yeah. It's You've got all this choice, and it's like, I may read a book.
Yeah, but we're sitting at a point where it hasn't been written yet completely. That's the beauty of it.
That's what I hope. Hey, listen, Dawn, I hope you're fucking right, because I'm done with this, like us continuously doing this loop and a loop and a loop.
Groundhog
It's like,
Day
oh my
bullshit.
fucking Groundhog Day. I'm just like, I'm so fucking done with this. And we've said this, like, give us something new. Give us something that we can sink our teeth into, that we can actually want to experience, because nothing interests me anymore. I'm reading.
you.
All I'm doing is fucking reading. I literally, Nick, I'm like disappear. I'm up in my room, just reading. I'm going through the Rift War saga. I don't know. I think I'm on book 22 of the Rift War saga. So, I mean, that's all I do. But there's how do you take it?
Part of me,
I've got project
wants
stuff that I need
society
to do.
to collapse.
Say
Part of me
again,
wants everything to collapse, so that we have to build our own tables, and we have to build our own huts, and we have to make our own torches, and it be real life Minecraft. Like, part of me wants that, so that we have meaning.
I've actually started to play a video game. I haven't done that for 7 years. That's the level I'm at. Like, I've got a PlayStation 3 whenever that came out, and got 4 games. It was like, fuck it, I'm going to play a Star Wars game where I'm, a Vader's apprentice, and 6 hours goes by. That's my solace at the moment, where I'm a Jedi. Bam, bam, bam. It's on easy, of course. I just go around hacking everything. But like I always say, I don't play video games. I live in one. But I've got to the point like, all right, I'm going to play a video game, and because I need that distraction. And like, we're waiting for something to happen, and I vote for something positive. Because like they're trying the negative shit, and it's like, we've been talking about this for 15 years. No, let's do something, something good. Like, it won't happen, but an alien turns up and says, "Hey, you're not alone." Something good.
So give us something, But that's what I mean by reading. Like, I've just been, when I finished the last book series, whatever it was, all right, David Eddings' Malorian, which I swore I wasn't going to reread, because we all knew that I'd read the entire fucking series. Well, I did. And I was like, right, I need another series like that, something that I can just fall into. And I was like, right, Raymond Feist, The Rift Wars. Perfect, because I know there's like 27 books in the series, so that'll keep me occupied for a month and a half. And that's all I've been doing. And it's like my escape place of just, I can just kind of, okay, I'm just going to walk away from this, social media and the screaming and the insulting and the incredible bullshit of our so-called reality that makes you go, oh, you know what? I'd rather go upstairs and read the Rift War reality, because at least I can somewhat enjoy that. Do you know? Because this reality is so unreal at the moment that you just can't.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, I was talking to Andrew Bartzis, where instead of finding something that we need, we used to get like 100% satisfaction, but we need something that's 130% satisfaction now. That's been that shift of like, I used to like this TV show, and you're watching it, this is fucking horrible. We're trying to find, it's instead of like, we found a nugget of gold. It's like, but this, you need diamonds. Like, it's the expansion now is the level of satisfaction has gone up.
Honestly, for me, so I realized that I need the small wins. Yeah. And I just helped a guy, friend of mine from the neighborhood. He's got a scooter, and it folds up, and a piece of it broke for him. He's ordered the new piece, but he can't use it at all until he gets the new bit for it. So I literally had just helped him for about an hour and a half, band-aid it together so he could ride it for the next little while. And at the end of it, I did a pretty good band-aid fix to get him through, and it was a small win, and it really felt good. And those are the kinds of small wins that fucking are getting me through right now. So
yeah, and that's just it. It's like, I made Chinese food last night for everyone for dinner, and everyone was like, yay, it was so good. It was. Everything turned out great. And it's those small wins. It's almost, the more the insanity grows out there, the more the small wins actually matter inside. Like, whether it's just, I don't know, Quinlan, the other day, Quinlan was so happy because she did her hair and it turned out just right. And she was like, she was so pleased. But sometimes you have to take those small wins. And because that's the shit that only matters in our bubbles, within our little bubbles. Sometimes you have to just focus on the small stuff
Those are
that's
the true
inside it.
happiness, though, not fucking dreaming like cryptocurrency is going to go crazy and then fucking you see today it's lost fucking 200 billion off the market capitalization. And fucking you realize douchebaggery is afoot always.
Yeah.
It's nothing like fucking an RV. It's those small wins. Those are the real fucking happiness in life.
Yeah.
Not
If I can accomplish the 5 things on my to-do list without doing one and then getting completely distracted and wondering where the whole day went, that's a huge victory. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like my to-do list is getting smaller and smaller, and I can't. You have certain things that you have to do. There's certain things that you daily stuff, and you've got, whether it's dishes, whether it's cooking dinners, whether it's getting laundry done, that kind of daily stuff. But yeah, just getting through your day, getting through the day and going, yeah, okay, I can look back at the end of the day and go, I got this done.
All
Okay.
right. So here's a crossover segue for you, Monty. If you're fucking into gaming right now and you're looking for a distraction and a low-key way to actually increase your mind, based on what everybody's talking about in the chat right now, The Expanse, that TV show, one of the reasons it's such a phenomenal TV show is that the way that they fucking kind of really observe the physics and the science of where we are right now.
You were going to say that.
The way that they do the anti-gravity burns to slow down to meet up in fucking orbits, and the way they plot their paths, slingshotting around planets and shit like that. Get a fucking video game called Kerbal Space Program. Oh my God, that game.
Kerbal
Space Program. You basically have to learn fucking rocket science and planet and orbits and fucking all kinds of crazy shit just to play the game. When you first open it, you're like, oh my God, I'm too stupid for this. But with just a little bit of thought and a little bit of interaction with the game, fuck is it fun. And you learn so much about everything, like planetary orbits and apogees and fucking like alignment. Oh my God. For any of the astrologers in here, they'd love that fucking game too. Pardon my language. I'm sorry, Katie, I see a little one.
That's all maths too, isn't it? It's all pure math.
It's all maths. Yeah, you like timing your burns. Oh my God, there's so much to that game, but it is such a good distraction, and
I opened up Skyrim again, and I'm blacksmithing currently, so I'm a little bit.
Yeah, finally, my eldest daughter's back at Skyrim again now at the moment too. She's like, what?
The only thing to do with Skyrim at this point is mods.
Yeah, my kids took the Skyrim and they modded it out until they almost broke it. So like my son has got lightsabers in Skyrim.
Sorry, you said?
How do they mod things? Is there like software that they use?
Well, I don't know.
Is she console or PC?
I don't know. What are you playing it on, console or a PC?
I wouldn't be able to mod mine because I have it on Switch, but.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
But I have a PC.
Like, for example,
I have a PC.
With the Xbox One that we've got, when you open the game, the mod list is right there. So you can just, and there's hundreds and hundreds of mods, and you just download them right from the mod list in the actual game. And it's the same thing with the PC. In fact, that game that I was just talking about, Kerbal Space Program, one of the cool things is on the Steam community is there is endless different things that people have built and uploaded, so you can just download them to your computer into your game and try them out. It's really
Millennium Falcon. You want to fly the Millennium Falcon?
Yeah.
Someone's made the Millennium Falcon and it's Kerbal Space Program, and you can download it and fly it, an X-wing, all this kind of stuff. I've spent hours and hours and hours watching Nick play Kerbal because it's really interesting. It's a thinking game. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really, really interesting to watch it. No, Bossy, you don't want to play Cyberpunk right now. Yeah, everyone's saying the same thing. TV shows. Okay, because we talked about The Expanse, right? We've talked about that a lot, which has been so good. Season 5 has been so good. We just started rewatching American Gods.
Season 3 has just started again.
Season 3 just started this weekend on American Gods.
Hurts your mind.
It's a mindfuck show. You have to be able, and it's very gory. There's at one point where one of the characters, who's kind of a zombie, I guess, kicks this other guy who's kind of a bot, kicks him in the balls and kicks him so hard that his entire skeleton comes out of his body. It's a little graphic, Just gonna say.
One of the best scenes in the whole show.
But the storyline is so fucked. It's because it makes you think. Monty, have you watched American Gods yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you have a treat ahead of you, and it's
seriously
full of little pieces.
How did they get away with this show? I mean, there's so much in there.
And that's what I was saying. There's so much in that show.
I mean, especially wasn't that in the last season where they literally talked about blood rituals and what they do and how they do it?
We're not through the
We're
second
not there.
season.
We're not there yet.
Spoilers.
We're still watching the second season. I'm on.
I've still got Sons of Anarchy and The Good Place. I've been told The Good Place is very good for information as well.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's Ted Danson, and it's kind of a comedy, and he's a devil or something. He's a devil from hell, and he's dealing with humans, and there's a twist,
you're
obviously.
Spoiling it.
I haven't watched any of it, so how am I spoiling it?
Because they don't know he's a demon yet.
You don't know that. Whoops.
Well, someone told me straight out, so it's not my fault.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler
IMDb
alert!
says it right there.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father.
Oh, and by the way, just so Americans and Canadians know, this in England and Australia
doesn't mean peace.
It doesn't mean peace. That's the equivalent of giving someone the finger. Is the two fingers? That's peace. That's fuck you. So if you see British people giving you the double finger up, they're not saying hi.
And we don't know where it came from because the urban legend is during Agincourt with the longbows.
Yes.
If Frenchmen were captured, you had to cut off those two fingers, and so the British would just do that at the battle.
Well, also to show that they hadn't had their fingers cut off, so therefore they could still fire their longbows, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I don't know if it's true or not, but I like. The story.
I don't know if it's true or not, but it's an awesome story. It's as good as any other story. Oh, speaking of fun and stories that have been built up over time, on Netflix there is a show called The History of Swearing.
Yeah, except just swear words or something.
The History of Swear Words. And Nicolas Cage is the host, I guess, the narrator. We've watched the first 3 episodes, and it's fucking funny. And fuck, which was the very first word they tackled, does not come from fornication under consent of the king. That is an urban legend, and that's actually not where it comes from. So,
but to be fair, they haven't really found out where it comes from. They've got some guesses, so
Yeah,
it's the same thing. I like that story as good as any.
yeah, exactly. It's a good urban legend. Sometimes the urban legends are better than the reality.
Yeah, isn't it from? Is it one theory is it's from the German word "frick," which means to strike.
Yeah, and they were talking about a Dutch word. They were saying there's a Dutch word which is frick or fruck or maybe even fuck, and it means to strike, to hit, and that's where they say the word fuck comes from. But regardless, it's a good show. If you just want something that's just, they've done a humorous job of it. Like it's been, it's kind of good.
Well, how else would you deal with that? You wouldn't want to make it boring as shit. And here we have the
we have the entomology.
vagina.
Yes.
Yes. Wanker, where does that come from? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's look at this map.
But to be fair, I don't
Yes,
think
Sheldon.
there is a single way that they could cover those words that wouldn't be funny. Even if they had like Ben Stein from Ferris Bueller's Day Off doing it, still be fucking gold for memes.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's fascinating. Like, I wonder if they use any of the George Carlin stuff with these 7 words you can't say on television.
I haven't seen that stuff yet.
They haven't mentioned it yet.
Yeah,
They
they probably won't use it, but that's a good focal point of like the point he makes, where I think he does it 7 minutes, and he only swears right at the end when he lists all of them, and it's presented in language where he's not swearing; he's actually using them to make a point.
Yep.
To be fair, up to now, it is shocking how much South Park has influenced modern pop culture's acceptance of those words on television and fucking put like the taboo right off of those things by the content that they put out. South Park has been an important fucking thing.
Was it the word shit? The word shit that they had one episode of South Park They broke the record, and it was something like over 100.
There's a reason for that.
They said
though.
130 times they said the word shit in
There's
one
a reason
episode.
for that, though, because the network
And it's
wouldn't
interesting
Did they
allow
have a
TV
tracker?
or television without saying
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Northern
Someone would have counted it.
Yes. There you go. So Quinlan just said the reason why
And
they
it's
did that
interesting
episode on
that-
South Park is because the network said they weren't allowed to use the word shit unless they used it an inordinate amount of times, which is why they did the episode that had they said it like 130 times.
Well, yeah, that sounds like them. It's interesting too, like the C word, and I'm saying it that way because I've just made everyone think that word. That's the joy of that. Like, you can't say the C word, but I just made everyone think it. It's interesting to see where different countries how they because Americans never used it, but I've watched it over the last 3 years where they just drop it in the right. It's not for effect. It's just another verb or another adjective or whatever the thing is. It's true. By the way,
In England and Australia, it's just a word that gets used.
In Canada, it's a category of all its own. You don't say that word unless you really mean business, because it's.
Yeah, well, in
I don't like
Australia,
that word.
Australia, it's used as punctuation.
It's used as punctuation. Same in England. Like my buddies who are from Scotland or even from Northern England. I mean, it
cunt.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's a cunt. Like that's what you call your best mate.
That level of terminating human. It's like the N word, where the insane nut jobs. It's like you can't say that word. It's like, well, then tell Dave Chappelle to stop using it. Or if you sing along to your favorite rap record, a rap artist got a white girl up and she sung the words, and everyone thought she was a racist because she said the N word. And it's like she's singing the song with the artist.
Yeah. Well, Nancy, that's one of those things, though, right? It is like, as a Canadian,
It's
the
its own
C
special
word
for
is
certain
like
things.
Like to the point of if I said that word,
That's a road rage word.
Nick knew that I was fucking like I had to get to a seriously impressive level of fucked right off to use that word.
Canadians say it a little differently, though. There's an amount of hate that Canadians put into that word. Like the T is just so sharp when it comes out, and there's so much emotion that's put into that word when you say it to somebody. It's like punched.
Yeah, it's obviously used for like I've got an arsenal of words to say that will upset you, and that's the final blow. Like
That's the final blow in Canada. Yep.
Yeah. If Danny's driving and she says vagina, wow, that guy in front of her really pissed her off.
Oh, generally I'm right there with her. I'm like, yep, that guy was that. He was that.
Yep, he was a vagina. Yeah.
I don't know why I hate it so much. I think it's like Nick said, it's that harsh T at the end.
Oh.
There's just a real, I don't know, I just hate the word so much. You're right. And if someone says that to me, like, dukes are up, man. Because like
fighting words.
Yeah, well, like when you come to England to come visit me one day,
You can't
Nancy,
take it personally.
you're gonna have to get used to that word because that's just common language here.
Don't you ask yourself why they use a feminine term as such a derogatory term? That's really what it is.
Yeah, but they also but the whole thing is it's not. That's what I'm saying. In England, your best mate is like, oi, cunt. It's not an insult. It's like,
in a way,
oh,
that
you're
word
such a
here
cunt.
has progressed beyond female genitals in the same way that the word fag has progressed beyond fucking male homosexuality. You know, there's certain words that just transcend their original meaning, and that's kind of what's happening.
As a matter of fact, I would go so far as to say in England, and I mean, everyone else of you out in England, tell me if you think I'm wrong. If you call someone a dick, it's more insulting than calling someone a cunt.
Douchebag.
Yeah. You call someone a dick, that's more that's now you're fucking being.
Yeah, see, that's more American. Dick and asshole. That's you're a fucking dick.
I've actually been called a cocksucker, but it was the most loveliest way of greeting. G'day, you cocksucker. And
exactly. That's the Australian and the British. Yeah. Like, yeah.
If your name is Head, don't call your son Richard.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
does Nancy mean something weird? Isn't Nancy something? What's Nancy?
Well, there's
Monty with Nancy.
There's Nancy Boy, which refers to a very
like a Nancy is someone who's
effeminate boy.
Not even like this very prissy, very kind of
Yeah, they could be still straight, but they're sort of like,
They're
even gay
more-
people go, that guy's that guy's a bit of a Nancy.
There's a
He's a
word
bit
for
of a
that.
Nancy.
It's effeminate. Effeminate.
Thank you. Me speaking back. It's 2:00. It's 2:45 in the morning. Come on, people. But yeah, it's Nancy boy or a bit of a Nancy. It's a put down, not obviously the name, because I mean, imagine if you were called Karen.
God, yeah.
Do you know how many people? I just read a news article about that in the last year. How many people have legally had their name changed because their first name is Karen?
Well, I mean, we could go like there's Debbie Downer. It's like just takes one person with a name to do something, and then it's taken.
You're such a Chad.
Negative Nancy.
Like,
Sorry, Nancy.
Doubting Thomas. Which
See, I always say negative Nelly is what I always had in my family. But
The shop was always negative Nancy.
What is it? The girls say, "Oh, he's such a Chad."
Yeah. And there's a lot of memes about that too.
Yes.
I remember we had a visitor from, I think it was New Zealand, and they were here for 3 months. They stayed with us, and the one guy was a comedian, so it was difficult to live with him because everything we did was a joke, and it gets on your nerves after a while.
Yeah, that's always on.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Monty. Yeah, always on. Always on. And so we took him to a hockey game, and he was just howling. We couldn't figure out what he was laughing about. And he says, that guy just got a penalty for slashing. I had no idea what he was talking about. I guess. Okay, can you explain, Monty? Because
Monty's
I'm
laughing.
Mess this up.
Urinating. Just
Yes.
got to take a slash.
Right. So,
Yeah,
he was
he
pissing
basically
himself.
he just got penalty for urinating. It was slashing. Yeah, same thing.
Right. So watching the hockey game, right? The guy got a penalty for slashing. Well, of course, we don't know why he's laughing.
Oh, the joys of language and how words don't translate sometimes.
Yeah, I'm with my roundtable. I've actually taught myself to speak Australian and then have the American word right afterwards, so I don't lose my audience.
Yeah,
Like
so
today,
you
I went to the
translate.
shopping center, which is a mall, and it's natural now where I have to
Get you in trouble if you say things like, I'm just going to go out for a fag.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what's his name? It's we're all speaking like, there's a difference between the United States, the UK, even Welsh, Scottish, Ireland, all this English speaking. They've all got their own sort of things. Like
Bonnet.
In America, you've got flip flops. The sort of the plastic sandal-esque type shoe.
Yep.
Yeah, we call them thongs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
It's
that's
not
not what it means in Canada.
Never mind. They've got their massive discussion. You know the little hip bags? They're called a fanny pack in North America. You cannot call them a fanny pack here.
No.
Yeah, see,
It doesn't translate. Doesn't translate.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, because fanny pack.
Fanny
is
doesn't mean the same thing in England as it does in North
it's
America.
the front hole, not the back hole. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And with thongs and flip flops in New Zealand, they call them jandals.
They call them what?
Sandals, but with a J. They're jandals.
I thought he said genitals.
I thought he said genitals too, and I was like,
No, that's just the connection. Jandals. Jandals, thong, flip flops. For one bit of footwear.
yeah, and you wonder
Yeah,
if
yeah.
people get
What
confused.
other words? I think our New Zealand friend used tarmac, bonnet, and no, Spanner is Scottish or English, isn't it? Tarmac was what? The runway? Is it the roadway?
Yeah, bitumen tarmac. Like the runway, airport
asphalt.
runway. That's tarmac.
Is the tarmac.
Now in Canada, what do you call the compartment at the back of a car?
The trunk.
The trunk.
Oh no, it's a boot.
That's
Yeah.
the boot. Here
You
it's
know
the
what's
boot.
really funny? I'm just realizing how many actual languages I speak after all the traveling I've done.
Yeah,
I can speak British,
Canadian,
and I can speak
Australian.
Australian, and I can speak some Irish, and I got some Canadian in there, and I think I even speak some American pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's bonnet then?
That's the hood. At like the front.
The
The
hood?
bonnet
where the engine
is where the engine is. You got to pop the bonnet.
And a hat. It's also a hat.
Yes. When we were in Malta, we had really good friends of ours who were British, who were living there, and my girls babysat their girls. And their little girls, when they first started, Lily and Lydia were like 5 and 3. And my kids would say, well, let's go put that in the garbage. And we're going to go if we're going to go walk to the park, we have to stay on the sidewalk, etc. And they got their girls using all the Canadian terminology. And then when their mom would say, okay, go throw that in the bin, they'd be like, no, Mom, it's the garbage. Going to go walk on the pavement. You got to walk on the pavement. They go, no, Mom, it's the sidewalk. They were getting corrected to Canadian by their 5-year-old.
Yeah, in Australia, it's a footpath.
Yeah, I know. Which makes more sense than sidewalk.
Well, no,
really?
Sidewalk makes sense.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, it's fascinating where you can have 3 or 4 different things and it's exactly the same.
Yeah, just to keep things confusing.
Yeah, pavement.
I want to know
the pavement. That's it. Yeah, the pavement. That's what the sidewalk is in England. They call it the pavement.
Hey, Danny, I want to know why they put the steering wheel on the other side of the car over where y'all are at.
I think
no,
actually
it's
the
the other way
Americans
around.
did it the other way around since America's only.
I want to know how that happened.
Because of the Revolutionary War, it's like, well, we're not going to drive on the left side, the correct side of the road, because F the King will go on the other side. And
I don't know why. I don't know why. You know what's fucked up though?
Could be old. I mean, fucking in the same way that a cart and this 2 horses together has dominated the size of a space shuttle, it could just be the fucking choice that they've typically decided to use in this part of the world. I don't know.
But I think it's English though, because it's just the Commonwealth. And New Zealand's the same. We're on the they're on the left, but all the everywhere else is on the right. And it's if you drive from England to France, you're stuffed basically because you got to change sides.
I've done it.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
What's it like driving a car where when you're on the right side of the car and you're driving, and then you actually have to swap sides where it's because the whole dimensions of the car changes. Like
I've done,
when you're on with a car and then all of a sudden you're not.
I've driven fucking on British side on fucking North American style roads. I've driven in fucking North American style cars on British style roads. And it breaks my brain. It really does. And when you got to switch back and forth, like going, like you exactly said, we went from Malta, which is same thing as here, or Australia, and you drive on the fucking left-hand side of the road and then immediately hop into Italy and you got to get on the other side of the road and you have to be able to do that instantly in your brain. Holy fuck. Because all your instincts have to be mirror image now, right? You have to literally look to the right first. You have to, and it really can be fucking confusing. And then you get from France off the fucking ferry in France and back in England, and you're like, well, shit, it's the other way around now. And since my fucking predominant training was in Canada, where it's the right-hand side of the road, that is my instinct. And I didn't think it would be as much of a fucking challenge, but driving through France and Italy for 2 days and then hopping over to the border here, it took a lot of mental effort to switch over back to.
Oh, man, the programming and the
That's what I'm thinking. Ouch. And I smoke cannabis, so that certainly wouldn't things.
Well, listen, it's funny when we watch American TV
I don't
programs,
think I'd be doing well there.
Because we went from Australia, drive on the left, to Malta, drive on the left, to England, drive on the left, and we're watching American Gods, and there's scenes of Mr. Wednesday and Shadow in the front seat, and I have to try and figure out who's driving because my brain goes through this disconnect. Like, what side is the wheel on? Wait, no, they're in America, so it'd have to be on that side of the car. Oh, okay, he's driving. My brain literally twitches out now trying to figure out what side the wheel should be on.
It's a roundabout that causes trouble.
I like roundabouts. That is the fucking best thing about it.
Yeah, that's confusing. That's confusing, though.
They have
but in North America, it's all stoplights and traffic lights, and you don't have roundabouts.
Roundabouts are so much better.
And they stop traffic.
They have them in Sedona. They have them in Sedona.
Do they have roundabouts?
The movie,
really?
National Lampoon's European Vacation, there is like a 5 to 7 minute scene of Chevy Chase. He's on the inside ring of the roundabout, and he can't get out.
And he can't get out.
And he's just, I don't know who refueled the car, because it's a Mini. How much fuel is in that Mini? But it's just like, look, Kicks, Big Bang Parliament. He's been saying for hours because he can't get out.
Jimmy, don't get me wrong. I don't like
But
roundabouts.
roundabouts are just...
They're a royal pain in the ass. There's a stretch coming out of Wales where you go 2 miles, fucking roundabout. And you go up to 60 miles an hour, fucking roundabout. 60 miles an hour, fucking roundabout. Every 2 miles. And it's like a fucking 60-mile stretch of that bullshit. I don't really like them. Don't get me wrong. But in my opinion, they're better than fucking streetlights because the traffic goes faster and smoother with roundabouts.
I want to go to Germany because of the Autobahn, where it's like, no, fuck it, do it 200 miles an hour. Just stay in the right lane.
In that case, Nick, do not go to Peterborough, because there is thousands of roundabouts.
Yeah, I know Peterborough is supposed to be nothing but roundabouts. Well, when we have the GPS, right, on Nick's phone. So when we first got here, especially, you don't know the area. So everything would be like, okay, we want to go here. And you'd put it into the phone where you're going. And I would read it and I would talk to Nick and I'd be like, okay, at the next roundabout, second exit, turn right. Next roundabout, first exit, basically turn left. And then we have the Gosseton roundabout, which is the ones where it's just basically a circle drawn in the middle of the street. Roundabout. It's an implied roundabout, and you basically just go straight through, right? It would be like, so we have it down to a whole lingo now of like the first exit is turn left, and then the whole Gosseton roundabout, which just goes straight through.
I'm surprised you got your GPS to work, because I can't get mine to work now. It always takes me somewhere where I'm not supposed to be. Lee Valley, straight drive from Whitby to Scarborough. It decides to take a different route back. Put on the GPS, ended up way up like near Markville, and I'm going, what?
What?
Yeah.
I hate the nav systems. The nav systems tend to do that. Like all of a sudden you're driving along and it's fucking showing you're in a field. My phone has been phenomenal. It doesn't hardly ever bobble. And the cell tower coverage has been just fine. So the phone has been more reliable than the nav systems have.
You know what? Yeah, we switched over to phone now because it's not the TomTom. What's the other one? What's the other popular name of the GPS?
It starts with a G, I think. Fucking
Garmin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Garmin. Yeah.
Yep.
No. Mind you, I never updated the maps because it costs money, and so maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. We were driving with Gail, and at one point her car was like, the nav was saying that we were driving in the middle of a field.
M fucking series highway.
We're on a major highway.
North. It's not like it was just fucking constructed last year, and it's showing us driving in a fucking field in the middle of Wales, and I'm like, the hell? So yeah, right back to my phone.
Quick,
like
fire up the phone. We need to find out where we actually are.
You're driving down a freeway or you're on a coastal road, and then it says turn left now.
Yeah.
No. I'm not turning with the
going in
oncoming
the
traffic.
ocean. Where's the hit the submarine button?
I'm not gonna fall down a cliff, you bastard. And apparently, there's a Bob Dylan GPS and a Ozzy Osbourne GPS. Get someone that you can actually understand. That's all I'm saying. You need to turn left.
My GPS has an English accent.
Yep.
Does it feel it's superior?
But
you need to turn
where
left
in
now.
England? Because if it's got a Yorkshire accent, you'd be fucked.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. It sounds so pretty that it's so nice. So I just.
You want to hear something funny, Dawn?
What?
I was living in Canada 35 years. British people come over, and I had fucking any number of British people that I've known come over fucking through school and through like working. And when you go to the clubs with them, they generally don't go home alone. And they could be the ugliest bastard. They could fucking have really not much going for them. As soon as they open their mouth, they've got women around them, and it's just the accent. And I was like, holy shit. And you know what? The fucking British people feel the same way about the North American accent.
The Canadian accent. He could pick up women? Oh my God.
You go to the pub, start playing pool, and just fucking, and you're like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Ooh, I like your accent.
People always make fun of me because I have a very Texan accent, apparently. And especially if I go up north, they just want to hear me talk.
Only when you say y'all.
Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all.
We like your text.
There was a guy I worked with that was British, and you're right. He was like a chick magnet, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, same with Australia. If you're French, Canadian, American, especially we have to. Smart people actually ask, so where are you from in North America? That way we don't upset the Canadians. I'm not from America. Okay.
We don't take it personally, really.
Oh, the nice people will say, "Where are you from?" And then other people will be like, "Where are you from in America?" And we'll go,
Oh, you're American. Not really. No.
and they go, "Oh, Canadian. Sorry."
Do you mean America or the continent? Yeah.
Don't we have Canadian flags plastered all over everything, Danny, to prevent that from happening?
No,
We're not that kind of Canadian.
Okay.
Although I always tell the story, the first time I went to England to see my family, because my family's British, right? I had a T-shirt I used to sleep in. It was like, you know what I mean? One of those sleeping T-shirts. It was so old. It was just literally, it had holes. It was falling apart, but it had a faded picture of Niagara Falls, Canada on the front. And when I left, my cousins got into a bidding war over who could buy the T-shirt off of me. And my one cousin paid me about 10 quid for it. And the next, and it was like letters writing back, because this was in the olden days, right, when we wrote letters. My aunt had written a letter to my mom and saying, yeah, they'd had a casual day at school, because in England, everyone has to wear uniforms. They'd had a casual day at school, and he was the pride. He wore my Niagara Falls T-shirt to school. And I was like, are you kidding? It was a rag. It was a fucking rag. And it was like, yeah, he wore it to school. And all the people were like, oh, that's the best T-shirt. Oh, it's the cool. I was like, right. Note to self, next time I go to England, go buy a whole shit ton of tourist T-shirts that are like worn out from Goodwill and sell them on the street corners in England.
I think I'll do better in the United States than England, because you've still got that English-Australian rivalry where apparently I get called a convict.
Yes.
So I was born in Nottingham, you twat. Oh, well, because Australia's basically... I was born in Nottingham, and then 3 months later, my parents came home.
Ah, okay. So
everyone, oh, you're from Nottingham. Yeah, I was 3 months old. What do you learn in 3 months?
To pull a longbow?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. When I say goodbye, it's like, eh. And apparently the skybox, because I've been to America, 3 months old, can't remember it. The skybox was a wooden box with a blanket in the aisle, and it was when male stewards started to be allowed to help out caring for kids or toddler or babies on planes. And apparently I was handed around like a doobie. Oh, I don't like. Thanks, Mom.
I got to go to Manhattan, work in the financial district on the Conrad Hilton, which is pretty much right next door to where the fucking World Trade Center and the two towers were. And I got to fucking, from the apartment that I was staying in, go up to the roof and look down on the open pit of, I think it was Building 7, where they were still fucking putting it back together. And they had just cleared all the debris, and there were massive fucking tunnels in the sub basements of that, and they were open. And the fucking site, the building site, had these massive fences around. There were police patrols and dogs all around there. Fucking one of the most like profound memories I've got of going to the States.
Yeah, I went through America. I think it was 4 days. I believe New York, maybe Chicago, then LA, but it was 1974. So,
you know, Nick, that's where all the gold was and everything. Yep. The bottom of that building. That's why nobody,
Exactly.
But I wished I fucking had a map of all those tunnels, because I bet you they're not just a couple of kilometers down there.
Yeah. I remember the good old days as a Canadian. We went on a school trip down to the States and basically showed your birth certificate or your driver's license, or obviously as kids we didn't have driver's license, but like our school card, literally crossing the border going, the guy came on, collected everyone's cards up. Yep, okay, there you go. And we just drove on. No passports, no nothing. Just checked everyone had an ID card of some kind.
Can you still do that? It's been a while since I crossed the border.
No, not for a long
time.
We just watched the Christmas movie Die Hard, and watching what they were doing when they were flying, I was like, oh my god, what?
My kids
what
were
the fuck
were
was
traumatized.
The lawlessness of those days.
Oh my God! He's like, he comes in, he gets on the plane at the very beginning of the movie, and he's got his
in
gun,
his fucking-
and
they're smoking on the, and you're like, Jesus.
smoking on the plane. He's got a gun on his hip, and he's like, no, it's okay, I'm a cop. And like, oh, okay, in you go.
Watch Die Hard 3 where
No, he
they
didn't even
actually
show ID
steal-
to prove that he was a cop. That was it. It was just like, nah, I'm a cop. Like, oh, okay, on you go.
You know it's a movie, right?
Yeah, but that's what it was like in the fucking 80s to fly. Nobody gave a fuck.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of that TV show from Bill Burr, F is for Family. They had an episode there when that little or that teenage boy wanted to follow his loved one to the airport, got to the security check, put out his pocket knife. It went to that metal detector. On the other side, they gave him his pocket knife back, and he went in there. And like seeing that today is like totally a different world.
When I went to high school, fucking dudes would show up with their pickup trucks with 2 rifles hanging on the rack in the back window. And that was for hunting
nobody
after
had a
fucking
problem.
school. So you're like, you couldn't do that shit nowadays.
That's like Texas. That's exactly
You
how
fit
it was.
right in Texas.
Yeah, probably.
I never understand how American high school, they still bully kids. Like, their parents all have guns. I'm amazed that there is still bullying happening in American high schools. Like, have you seen the news? This could end badly.
But hey, on the bright side, back then, nobody tried to do shit, Like, there were no school shootings because everyone knew. You just go out to your car, get your shotgun, and problem solved, right?
And there was all kinds of fucking fights. Like the first week of high school, there were fucking nothing but fights. And every single day, there was dozens of them at the end of high school as, like, the pecking order was established. And nobody went to their car and got their fucking gun out and came back.
Exactly.
It was all just like, okay, I got my shit beat up and...
Just wanted to ask, and no school shootings, right?
No.
To change the subject, what's going on in Quebec? I know y'all are Canadian, so what is Quebec like?
French.
What? It's French.
But
It's
not French.
fucked up
Like
French.
fucking like the French here in Europe make fun of them.
Oh, yeah.
And if you speak Quebec French in Europe, they laugh at you and they're like, "What the fuck kind of toilet French are you speaking?" So it really pisses me off as a Canadian that the French Canadians, they're fucking, anytime that you see a Canadian in a movie or fucking, it's got to be this goddamn French accent on it to fucking stereotype us. I'm like, oh.
So no, they're in martial law. They just went into it
sorry.
yesterday.
I went off on a rant.
I have
That's
no
why I'm
idea.
asking. I'm like, what's the deal with Quebec? I mean, is there
Anyone?
anything special about Quebec?
Nancy, do you know anything? I don't.
All I know
never
is
heard.
that they've enacted a curfew. It's a $1,500 fine, and they're randomly checking vehicles out after curfew.
Yeah.
They laid yesterday 54 charges.
Wow.
Yeah. 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., I believe. It just came in yesterday.
They're getting
And,
dangerously close to having politicians getting murdered.
So that was my question. Why Quebec? What's going on over there?
I don't know. First I've heard of it.
They're kind of like they're separatists, sort of. They don't really want to be part of Canada. That's not to speak for the whole population. So they kind of have different laws and things that apply to them.
Oh, yeah.
Double standards.
The
for
rest
sure.
of the
Extreme double standards.
Yeah.
Which
I
is
don't
why
wanna
every time there was
offend-
a referendum in Canada, I'd be like, vote, Quebec can leave. Tell them to get the fuck out. I don't
Not
fucking
only
care.
that, extreme fucking racism.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you're not,
they're very, very racist. When I went to Montreal, but in
Yeah,
Quebec City,
motherfuckers.
the people there were beautiful. And it's not, I don't want to offend any people from Quebec that watch this show, but my experience when I was in Montreal was they won't talk to you in English, even if they can speak English.
Yep.
They won't.
No.
we were in fucking Montreal or in Quebec for a while in basic training, and man, as somebody who doesn't really speak a lot of French at that time, holy fuck, were you ever discriminated? And the cab drivers take advantage of you. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I think I haven't been to France, but apparently the French ignore you until you speak a sentence of French, and then they love you, and then they speak to you in English. Apparently.
Oh,
Where-
Yeah, a
that's
lot.
not
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, because you've made the effort.
Yeah. One of my
get a-
best
I get a
mates back in the 90s was Japanese, but I mean, like third generation Canadian. Like her grandparents
Still
came
is
over and like,
let's be
right? And she spoke French. She was
Right.
she was a language major. She spoke English, Japanese, French, German, Italian, and one other. I can't remember what the other language was, but French was her major, and she took like proper French, not Quebecois French. She took proper French. And she was invited by the University of Paris to go to her final year of her degree in Paris. And I can remember getting a phone call. She'd only been there about 2 weeks. And she was like, called me on the phone, was just crying, like I need to come home because these people are so fucking racist. It's unbelievable. And she said because she'd speak to them, and she spoke perfect Parisian French. And she said she had people who would refuse to speak to her. They'd be like, I don't understand you. And she's like, I'm speaking fucking French, you moron. And dogs, you get to deal with said dogs. And she hated it. She just, I've been to Paris. I don't like Paris. I don't like, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to insult people who are out there in Paris. I hate Paris. It's one of my most least favorite cities. Some of the most racist people I've ever met in my entire life. Nasty, miserable, Paris.
What I think is the arrogance that some people have that comes with this superiority kind of thing. Like they look down on you if you don't, like, I get nailed all the time because my last name is Lalonde. Lalonde's like Smith of the French world, okay?
Yeah.
So, but it's married. It's my married name. So
Yeah.
I don't speak French. So then I get.
If you want to see some
Chicken
good comedy,
fast.
just look how the English treat the French.
Yeah.
It's fantastic because I mean they had 100 years war. They went for 88 years, but still 88 years of they're only how far apart, and they've been
at war for fucking 2,000 years. Are you kidding?
Yeah. Good. Well, I mean, the kings were French for a while, and it was all part of France, and so there's been this back and forth of territory and everything else like that, and you know, it's just really weird. Where, but apparently because of World War II, everyone thinks that the French are cheese-eating surrender monkeys. They won wars all beforehand, but it just World War II, the German machine I mean, Belgium was conquered in a day because of just what the Nazis were doing, where like blitzkrieg, whereas just go really fast and freak everyone out.
My answer to anybody that says anything about the French that is the like fucking pussy for war, I'm like, well, yo, they do fucking stand up for their rights against their government like nobody else. When it comes to unfucking their government situation, they really have the.
They have the whole rebellion thing. Quite good.
Yeah, the government is scared of the French people. Like, you know, the truck drivers. We want to have an extra tea break in the afternoon. The government says no. Right, strike. Everyone shuts the country down, and the government's about 3 hours later. All right, we'll talk about this extra tea time. It's I think it's because of what happened in the French Revolution, where it's like, oh, good idea. Then it just went totally insane, and now the government's like, oh, we need to make sure these people are happy.
Me that his entire family's from Quebec.
I'm sorry, Maury. I'm sorry.
Fine, my fucking grandfather and shit, they're all from Quebec too.
There you go.
Let me move it over there. Do your old hand to shake.
Well, no,
there.
to be fair, they left.
Yeah, to be fair, they did leave.
Are they? Yeah, well, no, they.
I don't mean to come off sounding like that, guys. It's just you have to understand. It's like every group has their, you know, their programmed is what it is. They're programmed little bitchinesses about other groups, right? So if you're Canadian, a lot of Canadians have a lot of programmed bitchiness towards Quebec. So don't be offended. It's just
mine's based on experience. It really is, and to fucking tell you a lot about a lot of people around the world. Sorry.
Stop.
Mine is based on experiences with fucking French people from Quebec.
New Zealand and Australia has a bit of argy-bargy. The English and Australia has an argy. Maybe it's us, but even in Australia, you've got because you were in New South Wales, weren't you?
Yeah.
Did you ever get to Victoria?
No.
No. There's this whole thing, New South Wales against Victoria, because they're different, which is good. If you like Sydney, go live in Sydney. If you like Melbourne, live in Melbourne.
Yeah.
But the reason that our capital where Parliament is Canberra, which is halfway between Melbourne and Sydney, is because those two cities were arguing over what is going to have the federal Parliament.
That's right. We'll pick this
And
halfway point.
that whole thing has been, yeah, and that whole thing, that rivalry has been going on for so long, and then you've got the whole country against Tasmania because they're the island and they're separate, and it's
division.
Yeah, human crap.
You know where there was a lot of racism in Canada that shocked me. My mom and her husband went for a road trip from Ontario out to BC, and they drove through the prairies in Alberta. There's a huge Chinese population there. And she says we would go into the store and the lady would follow us around in the store like this, like just, you know, and it was like that everywhere. There was a huge, and my mom isn't very quick to call anybody racist. So I get racist and bigotry mixed up. Which is bigotry? Bigotry is what? When you're
blind hatred for no reason.
Yeah, racism is if you've got a reason to hate someone because it's their race.
I wouldn't say a reason.
Racism
Racism is more specifically fucking like or directed. I would say bigotry is just fucking I hate everybody for no reason. I just think they're assholes.
It's not necessarily about their race or the religion. They can be a bigot for any number of reasons.
Yeah, like going back to when my dad lives in Box Hill. They don't go shopping in Box Hill because the new Chinese have gone in there and they get ignored because they're Caucasian. And my mum's told me a story where even third generation Australian Chinese get that sort of bigotry, racism as well, where Asian people and Chinese people that have lived here, they go there and they get the cold shoulder as well. And it's like really unique. Is it just like the shitty parts of Hong Kong left? And they've gone everywhere else, or
those seed pockets exist everywhere, though. And I hate to put another stereotype out there, but try to get a fucking job in an airport in North America, and specifically Canada, any city in Canada, if you're not from India. And I hate to say that, but in every airport in Canada, it is predominantly people from India that work in them. And if you do not have the blood or the skin, you do not get to work there.
Yeah, and we're not talking collective because I've got two Japanese retirees, Chinese people living next to me, and they're lovely. They've got enough English to survive. Right. And then on the other side, I had a family of Indians, and Australia, I guess like Canada as well. Like if the programming and government fuck off, we all get on pretty well because we realize we're all humans. Because it's like I've got a gay friend and I've got a black friend. It's like, oh, my neighbor's Indian, and I helped him out occasionally because he's a human.
Yeah, exactly.
And Canada and Australia, it strikes me as people just learn to not use their religion to be a cunt. There is that word again.
Yeah, see, that was used correctly.
Yeah, exactly. But that's, I mean, it depends on where you grew up. I grew up in like the neighborhood I grew up in, the building that the building that we lived in for a good portion of my younger years was multinational. So like my parents' best friends were from India. The neighbor next door was from Jamaica, and I fucking ate at her place all the time because man, was she ever a good cook. And like there was the whole building we had Koreans, we had Spanish, we had Mexican, we had you name any nationality, Irish, Russian. We used to joke in the building. The ongoing joke was that we were gonna once a year have like a big potluck dinner, and it would be like that United Nations potluck dinner because it would be everything on the table, anything you could possibly imagine, because there was so many different nationalities. My schools that I went to were the same thing. It was all very mixed nationalities. So, but this is one of the things, like when we talk about racism, I never grew up in a place, Toronto mostly, we never really saw racism. And if you did, it was called out. Do you know what I mean? Like if there's always the one person who is a fucking asshole to the black kids in the school. Or the worst racism was we had Japanese and Korean community.
Oh, yeah, Asian racism. Oh.
And oh my God, they were so racist to each other. that was like shocking to me. I had my two of my best friends. One was from South Korea, the other one was from Tokyo, and they were so racist towards each other. I mean, they got along well, but that was the worst racism I'd actually ever experienced. It was shocking to me. It was like, holy crap.
Yeah, and they're basically from the same gene pool, and they're only separated by the Koreans, whatever it is, Sea of Japan, which is what 80 to 200 miles, and it's like they're that close. It's like Vulcan and
Romulus, exactly, kind of.
Yeah,
kind
it's
of.
like really.
But don't say that
from
to
the
them
same-
because that'll get you in a lot of trouble.
Oh yeah. Well, bringing a bit of the Emperor Biden crap. Have you seen his latest thing where he's going to do a stimulus package or something and help out? And he labels everyone except who he's not going to do anything for the Caucasians, which is what 80% of the population. So it's like the blacks and the Asians, and we're going to help out all their businesses. And I didn't watch it, but I've seen people tweet about it, where it's like he's just pushing the divide. Because I think now everyone who's living in the States would know obviously a bit better, but race relations really sucked during the Obama administration, because you're sort of heading towards like, you know, everyone's fine, and then Obama got in and it just went sort of all over the place.
Burying the needle
I
to the
don't
other extreme is what's
understand.
going on right now.
Yeah.
We're all just bracing at the moment because everybody here, you know, depending on what happens, has a plan basically, you know, as far as we know I mean, I would look to see Texas secede right off the bat if that motherfucker gets in. I don't see us going along with it. I think that's why all these companies are coming here too, because
if Texas secedes, then
Texas is big enough, Dawn, to take in 70 million people.
Well, we got a lot of room here. You know that.
Exactly. Texas got lots of room.
Like I was just saying, America can swap out Puerto Rico for Texas, and they don't even have to change the flag.
What I like being an Australian is like, you know, Texans, well, look at the size of our ranch. It's like there's people in Australia that have the size of Texas as their ranch. Look at the size of our rats. Look at our kangaroo.
The first thing he's going to do is the gun legislation too, and you know that ain't going down here. So that's a joke. That's a joke. Like that.
I'm so glad I don't live in North America right now. Let me tell you.
Yeah, but at least we have guns, man. At
we
have them.
Yeah, and your
listen,
your
Dawn,
country's
I have
based on
said
freedom.
for years that if I had to live in the States, I would choose to live in Texas, just because you make friends with all your neighbors.
There's a lot of good old
You're
boys
going to be
there.
just fine. I know. I've had lots of Texan friends.
Why do I
lots
picture
of
every single person from Texas just like Deadpool? After he shoots his gun, he slips. He's like, "I'm touching myself."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of good old boys here. That's the thing. You wake up that majority, that's a door you're not going to be able to close.
Yeah, I actually looked into the history
now.
of. I looked in the history of Texas because of like if I'd moved to America, Texas seems to be the place. Maybe Austin because they're a bit weird, but Texas was its own country, and then it got absorbed by the United States. And I think every 2 years they have to sign back in. And was it Rick Santorum, whatever, in 2012 was like, oh, we may leave. And then all of a sudden the Texan sky's full of planes because, you know, we're not doing that crap again. So, we're in interesting times.
There was some interesting shit that happened in Texas in 2012 that was very much in that line of preparing too. Like they brought back in 2015, they brought back a whole bunch of their gold holdings that were in New York, things like that. It was like, interesting.
Well, yeah, there's that theory or idea going around. Maybe we should split the country in half, but it won't work because it'll be the coasts and the middle. And so some people want to join the West Coast and the East Coast of Canada. So it's a big U type of, or an N. And so, all
Canada
the nice
doesn't
people
want
in the middle.
California. Sorry, you can't give us California.
No.
So,
But people have moved to Texas. Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro,
Elon Musk.
Ben Shapiro moved to Nashville. They're getting out of California because it's like that's enough. Like Joe Rogan actually moved because they shut down the comedy clubs. It's like, no, that's it.
Yeah.
And because Texas is in the middle, you can get to the coast quite easily.
Yep.
Well, not to mention the stock exchanges are all in talks right now to come here.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you? And then we got back all our gold, which tells me that they're going to handle the situation where if we split off, you know, like the Fed doesn't have a liability at that point for Social Security and Medicare and all that. So seems like Texas would use that to form their own plan.
Maybe.
I have a question. So, you know, not being American, I am following what's happening there and not being either like Republican or Democrat, right? Although we have the same kind of parties in Canada, you know, conservative and liberal. But just looking at it from a neutral standpoint, isn't anybody alarmed at the amount of censorship that's going on and the deplatforming of everybody? And
in the last 2 weeks alone,
Twitter
the last
and
2 weeks
Facebook
alone,
deplatformed the sitting president of the United States. Wow,
Unheard of.
that is
wow,
bullshitery.
that's what I was thinking too, Nick. Like, wow, this is the president.
and that's just it. And there's the twisting of the rhetoric, of course. And like I said, as I always add the proviso in, everyone knows I don't like Trump, right?
Right.
But he is the sitting president of one of the most powerful countries in the world. And the news is blackballing him. Not care, like he did a presidential address somewhere time before Christmas, and none of the news stations carried it. None of them.
No.
I was, pardon me. I think I said
Some
in the
of them
last show. I was like,
too.
I was just shocked.
I mean, the position deserves respect.
It's
Well,
not
they've
even the
ruined-
position deserves
they've taken
respect
that
because
away.
the amount of respect that I have for
Yeah, but
world
it's
leaders.
an institution that is there.
But yes, exactly. Regardless of anyone's viewpoint, regardless of whether you're left, right, up, down, black, white, yellow, orange, polka dot, or striped, it doesn't matter. When the media can so blatantly censor the president of a country, no matter what country it is. And then the social media deplatform him off of everything, Twitter, like you name it, everything shut down, shut all those accounts. If that, I don't care how left, and I'm using that as an example, how left someone is, I don't care how much they hate Donald Trump. If that doesn't scare the fucking shit out of you,
yes,
you're already dead. You're already brain dead. You might as well just roll over and bury yourself in the ground.
And
Because
Marisa-
that should tear anyone, regardless of what your views are.
Marisa-
Regardless of what your views are, that they are doing this to someone, and not just someone, because obviously it's like there's a whole, like the list of people who just were out of his governmental, they don't call it cabinet. What do they call it? His
He's got a administration.
Administration. There you go. The amount of people who just literally had their accounts shut down, completely slammed, and it's not being talked about. I mean, it is obviously on social media by the people who care,
it's
but
the hypocrisy too.
The hypocrisy is,
Yeah.
and if you can't see
Honestly,
this,
Yeah, but hang on now. To be fair, I'm actually kind of glad that they've gone and done this and accelerated it to this level, because
Yep.
now there will be an accounting. And this next few years, I don't know if it'll be.
someone's knocking on the door.
God damn it.
Someone's knocking on the door. Don't know
The
who's
boss.
knocking on the door.
Hey, Maurice has something to say, y'all.
Hey,
Go ahead,
Danny,
Morris.
You got listen. Think bigger picture. Think of the Romanovs after the mobs took the streets and the family was on the run. That's where we are in America right now with our president and what's going on. It's like they're pell-mell taking over.
Yeah, it's
And
a coup.
Yeah.
It's a coup.
It is a coup.
It literally is. You got to think.
If you're a Republican,
But it's like the Romanovs. That's what it's like. They're, who knows what's going on? You know, think about the Trump family at this point. Like, if they hate him that bad, aren't they going to try to kill him and his family like forever?
Yeah,
I mean,
they
like,
want to. It's getting to the point where it's like Nazi Germany, and they want Trump
It is.
supporters.
yes, that's
But
what's
it is.
alarming.
Here's the thing, though. when it comes to congressional hearings and it comes to laws and stuff like that, things like Twitter and Facebook, laws of media do not apply to them. So those massive media centers, for all intents and purposes, they're media centers. Twitter is a media center. They exist and they operate in a place of lawlessness and autonomy because they have no, they fit into no category. They fit into no jurisdiction. The censorship laws for like American television, or I don't know what it is, the FAA, I think it is. FCC, whatever it is, that three-letter agency that monitors such things, they do not fit under that umbrella. So they're on their own fucking kingdom that has no fucking limits or boundaries, and there's no accountability for the douches like Zuckerberg or Dorsey. So that fucking lawlessness that they exist under has got to change, and it's coming real soon.
And what I think Nick was getting at was with all the shit that is rolled out, and I agree with what Sony was saying in the chat, it's all intentional. It could be that it is the biggest trap, basically, that set this up, and now with it having gone to such an extreme level of censorship, that it may now be the point where the line has been crossed, and now something can be done. And to the point of, because like I said, any rational person, any rational thinking person is got to be able to go, oh, this is not good. This is really, really, really not good. Because this is the Bolshevik revolution in that way. What you're saying about.
But have you seen it got even worse? There are people now on the internet gloating of snitching on everyone they saw on pictures in DC and whatever, and stormed the Capitol and shit. But what really freaks me out, there was like 6 months, half of the country was in flames. There was riots every day. Then one day, I mean, for God's sake, the building wasn't even on fucking fire, right? Like, there was like just 1 or 2 windows broken where they got in, and everyone got in panic. I mean, wasn't AOC saying last night, oh my God, we got so close to being half of the Capitol murdered and whatnot. And there were grandmas walking in there. The people that stormed it stayed even in those, what is it, that
in the velvet ropes. They walked in between them. They didn't even knock the ropes over.
Yeah. I mean, how hilarious was that? I mean,
but the thing is, Bussy, it was the elite. It actually, they don't really care about the mom and pop stores and the general public. It's someone, that type of stuff got to their own house and they freaked out. There's a great photo of like all the senators and representatives hiding down underneath the benches or whatever it is.
Yeah, no.
And someone, the meme is like, these people send your boys to get killed in war.
Exactly. And they also got Nancy's laptop, which I'm very happy about. Okay, they got 5 laptops out of that room when they all ran out of there.
Nancy, did they really?
And Nancy Pelosi's laptop, Reuters is the one who came and verified that, because there was people who were saying it for days ahead, saying they got Nancy Pelosi's laptop, and then Reuters came out and announced it. Yeah, they got Nancy Pelosi's laptop, and someone took a shit on her desk.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. That was the best part of the whole thing. Somebody climbed up on her desk, dropped trowel, and fucking took a dump in the middle of her desk. Whoever you are, you should be given a medal.
Yes. Yeah.
I like how, like, I think CNN was the first one to call it an insurrection. It's like, that is the worst insurrection in history, because it just like college students doing a prank. Like, oh, they were let in. This footage of like they're letting, and it's the people are pulling the race card. Like, oh, if this was BLM, there would have been a different response. It's like, well, yeah, you've got 9 months of burning shit down.
Can I just ask Don a question? Don, how is your president communicating with you guys right now?
He's not.
He's not.
And the thing is, he's got a military base here in Texas.
Or somewhere else.
Well, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know?
But, okay, so he's still the president until the 20th, and he still needs to do his job. He still has a role, but he can't communicate with the people. Because he's banned on all the platforms. We know the news won't broadcast him. And then I saw some nonsense about the emergency broadcasting system.
We're all waiting for the military to step in. Like we're all like hoping.
That would be a great
Okay, guys.
season finale, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? Military step. We know the military supports Trump.
That's the only way anything will
It's the
change.
only way. It's the only thing we got at this moment.
Okay,
That's
so
how bad it is.
Okay,
over
Danny's
here.
about to say something. So.
I'm sorry, my internet is just gone shocking, like so fucking bad for the last 10 minutes. We've been going for 2.5 hours and I have to start cooking dinner and doing shit like that. What I would like to do is organize another chat where we discuss exactly this subject. And maybe see, I'll see if we can organize it maybe later this week. And God forbid my internet actually fucking works. Maybe we'll do it in my evening time. And I want to try and pull in a few different people to get a little, like, I want to try and look at some of this shit that's going on from a rational point of view, if you will. But I'm going to have to close it down, guys. I'm really sorry. My dogs are going fucking apeshit, as you can hear tippy tapping in the background. I will figure out, I can't do it tomorrow night, I don't think. Maybe Wednesday night. But I will let everyone know, like try and give everyone at least a half day's notice that we'll do it. But I actually want to get into this discussion on a deeper level. So
I think it's important.
It is. I think it is. I think it is important. And that's why I want to get it done this week. It's internet driven at this point though. Okay. I love you guys. I will let you know as soon as I can figure out a time frame to have the discussion, and I'll let you guys all know. By the way, just so you know, YouTube has completely fucked me. They have age restricted the channel. Now, at first it was age restricted, meant that I basically cannot embed these videos into my own website. So I can't embed my videos on my website anymore because it's age restricted. And now YouTube is demanding people show proof of ID of age in order to watch my videos. So I am not going to BitChute because BitChute, unless they've radically changed it in the last few months, uploading down to BitChute is a pain in the fucking ass.
What about Vimeo?
Vimeo is just as bad as YouTube. I am looking at, what have I just uploaded the last show to the brand new tube. So, but it's my video's under review and it has been under review for fucking hours. So
Danny, now Randy and Emily use Vimeo still to upload to their private stuff and they're doing okay.
Are they? Okay. Maybe it's got, I'll have to check. I'm going to have to figure it out.
What are they using?
Vimeo. So I'll have to try and figure it out. But it's got to be a solution I got to come up with in the next couple of days. So I will probably upload it to YouTube anyway. I will upload it to brand new tube if they ever actually allow my first video to go through. And I will figure out maybe Vimeo. I don't know. I'll just have to figure it out. I will have to figure it out. But yeah.
What's DLive?
DLive, I have a DLive account too, but same thing. Unless, like I said, unless they fixed a lot of the glitchy stuff, I would upload a video 3-4 times before it would finally actually properly upload smoothly. So I don't know. I'll have to.
And then there's one more. There's the Mike Adams platform. Radeon.
Odyssey or something like. Yeah, there's a lot out there, so
yeah,
I'll follow you.
Anyone has ideas, send them on over to me. I'm willing to consider anything at this point. Okay, darlings. Clang. Okay, I will check it out. I will check out Clang as well, clang.com. Okay. I love you. Okay, I'll talk to you guys all later. Bye.